When travelers move along Saladis Avenue, which is lined on both sides with old oaks and bright bushes, they talk about what is happening in the Kingdom of Grandale. They say that they can summon heroes from other worlds. These heroes receive special powers and are supposed to help in the battle against the Dark Lord. Yes, the summons really sounded about a month ago. Since then, the whole city has been discussing this news. Everyone wonders who these mysterious heroes are. Will they be able to defeat the ancient evil? The girl in the back seat of the carriage suddenly became more lively. She wondered if these people were the very heroes mentioned so often in ancient legends. Her eyes lit up with excitement as she carefully listened to the traveler's conversation. She really turned out to be right. According to legends, among these people there are those who have two unusual powers at once. Or maybe each of them has hidden amazing talents. Such abilities are told about in ancient books. Without a doubt, under such conditions they will easily defeat the Dark Lord. And when the war breaks out, even simple merchants will be able to profit from it. Traders were already eagerly waiting for the opportunity to make profitable deals, anticipating profit and rubbing their hands. True heroes. The girl named Tina loved listening to the stories told by traveling storytellers. She often imagined brave warriors who easily defeat their enemies, and valiant knights capable of sacrificing everything for justice. In her dreams, the girl saw the queen delivering an inspiring speech about the importance of humanity. She inspires the youth and turns young men into true heroes. Tina was confident. With such defenders, the kingdom is safe. She dreamed very much of meeting such a special person at least once. True faith that her wish would someday come true filled her with hope and gave her strength to move forward, even on those days when everything around seemed gloomy and dull. Miss Tina thought about how wonderful it is that in this world everyone can independently look into their skill matrix and see their abilities. Previously, people could not even imagine what they were really capable of. Among the crowd there are definitely those who came from afar, and cannot wait to be the first to try this interesting feature. They really hope to learn something unusual about themselves and are already dreaming about it, their eyes shining with impatience. How many young hearts have been broken by harsh reality? How many dreams disappeared as soon as the truth was revealed? Not all hopes come true. Only true heroes get their place when they really deserve it. Until very recently, Akinoze Kaneda was just an ordinary high school student. He had neither talents nor outstanding looks. He did not stand out among others and got lost in the crowd of peers. Every morning he, like everyone else, washed up, had breakfast, and got ready for school. On the way, he always politely greeted the neighbors, showing what a well-mannered boy he was. Since the high school students entered the mysterious world with the Kingdom of Grandale, a month has passed. At first, everything around looked like a nightmare, but over time they got used to the majestic castles and picturesque green hills. Since they were summoned, nothing extraordinary has happened. The Dark Lord is still alive and continues to act as before. This greatly worries the inhabitants of the kingdom, as well as those who were summoned. Tamaki-saki called Kanadu to herself. She asked if he could make onigiri with different fillings, since they all taste the same now. In response, he frowned and looked at her with slight displeasure. Once she was the class monitor and seemed like a quiet and modest girl. No one could have thought that she hid the skill of an assassin. But as soon as the fight begins, she transforms, moving swiftly and unnoticed, like a shadow, and instantly appearing next to the enemies. Suddenly girls gathered around him and began to protest. There is not even manga or magazines here. In their world, they were used to reading new issues every week. The boy was confused and asked them to calm down a little. Calmly, he explained that the store only sells bottled tea and modest weights, and that he is not at all familiar with the business yet and does not know how to develop his skills, asking to wait a little. In response, one of the girls indignantly called him rude. To be honest, he was already tired of the constant jokes about his skill. His workshop had electricity. The air conditioner was working, and there was bright light. Even in the toilet, there was toilet paper and a modern flush. There stood a working computer through which anyone could place an order. With an understanding of all this, the boy felt much more confident. Even if the choice of things was small, such skill was considered important for a modern person. From time to time, the residents of the surrounding village enter the shop to exchange their belongings for interesting goods from this world. They are always amazed by the local ingenuity, and Akano Sikinata gladly picks something special for each of them. From time to time, he is even brought rare fruits, so he has no difficulties with food. At that very moment, as he was leisurely eating an apple, there was a knock at the door again. The shop owner was already well accustomed to the sound of the bell that announced the arrival of visitors. Kojima Shinji, Taylor, and Kawasaki Ryo often come to the ordinary residence of the third group. They sometimes even call. All the guests like it here very much. Especially everyone is delighted with the bathroom. This time, when they peeked inside, They saw Tamaki lying on the futon right in the middle of the shop. When asked what happened, the girl calmly replied that she was comfortable and cozy like that. However, no one could understand why she decided to rest in such a strange place. The shop owner asked Kawasaki to leave and advised him not to show off here. Ryo immediately began to apologize, blushing awkwardly and trying to find an excuse. Watching all this, he probably thought that it was very noisy around. He wanted silence and the opportunity to concentrate, but he hardly reproached anyone for it. For him, the main thing is to find balance in everything. You are sitting calmly in class when suddenly everything around changes, and you are already in an unfamiliar place. Well, it seems an adventure is beginning, heroes. Prusai, who ruled the eastern kingdom of Great Eliu, on this very day allowed Akinosai to learn the true essence of the new world. Akinosai saw the wide opportunities that the new state opened before him, but at the same time felt that he would have to give his all for this. It turned out that they acquired unusual powers that the inhabitants of the old world did not have. Ancient writings mention heroes with special abilities against whom the Dark Lord is powerless. On this continent, there are 7 great states, but 2 of them have already been destroyed by the treacherous Dark Lord along with his army of monsters. To cope with the crisis, Grandale turned to the ritual of summoning heroes from another world, which he learned about from ancient manuscripts. The secret knowledge, which had been stored uselessly for many years in the dusty royal library, finally found its application. The consequences of this act are already known to everyone. The whole class gathered in one place. All 31 students stood together for an important reason. Some clung to their friends in fear. Others looked at the unfamiliar walls with curiosity, and some were already trying to figure out what had happened. In fact, even the inhabitants of this world were amazed. Usually only 3 or 4 heroes are summoned, but now there appeared significantly more people than usual. Kuramochi Uto, known in the city for her good grades and attractive appearance, finally dared to break the silence. She needed to get an important answer from the ruler. Kanata always thought that he was an unpleasant person. He reminded her that they were just ordinary schoolchildren. Then he asked if she would agree to fulfill someone's dream of returning to the familiar world, even if it did not require fighting the Dark Lord. The queen said that they could not do this. Tamaki-saki asked the reason, and then the queen became confused. A flicker of anxiety flashed in her eyes. Behind this decision hid something evil and dangerous, and even the village chief's voice trembled with tension. To this question, the ruler replied that they lack magical energy to reopen the portal. But this power can be obtained by defeating the Dark Lord, and then, most likely, they will be able to bring everyone back using the necessary spell. They still did not realize that the way home lay through victory over this lord. He was not just a powerful opponent. He stood before them as an insurmountable obstacle separating them from family and peaceful life. However, there was no way back left. Karamatotsi did not stop and asked for permission to ask one more question. He was extremely persistent, not even afraid to meet the queen's gaze. Moreover, he behaved quite sharply and frankly rudely. He reminded them that they were just ordinary people. How could they defeat the Dark Lord, whom even the bravest warriors of this world could not overcome? But the queen calmed everyone and said that there was no need to worry about that. It turned out that they acquired unusual powers that the inhabitants of the old world did not have. Ancient writings mention heroes with special abilities against whom the Dark Lord is powerless. She also added that anyone can check their abilities just by looking at their status. Hearing this, Akino Sikinata immediately wanted to find out what powers he had. A system window appeared on the screen, notifying that a status check of the hero and confirmation of his skills is currently underway. So how did it all turn out? Did he manage to open the store? After all, in reality, he dreamed of exciting martial arts, or at least magical adventures. He wanted a whole company of elves, catgirls, and fairies nearby. But he was unlucky. The very next day after they were summoned to the royal palace, a real training program began for the heroes. They had to be the first to choose the abilities with which they would fight against the Dark Lord. Kuramochi Uto, the main hero, often suffered from the annoyances of his friend Akinoze Kanadi. Uto received 2 unusual powers. He became immortal and can come back to life 5 times, and the goddess also gave him the ability to master all types of magic and special protection. He could not call it unfairness. Moreover, it is Kuramochi who leads the first main team that can directly confront the Dark Lord. The team gathered Kanamori Jun, water magic user, Kanai Miyoka, healer, Sawano Rudy, skilled marksman, Yuki Saki, swordmaster, Natori Mitsuki, shield mage, Minetsuki Yuhai, spearman, Kirishima Masaki, wizard who commands ice, and Tamaki Saki, experienced assassin. The second squad, along with reservists from the first group, Go to help and take the places of the wounded. The third unit, which Canada joined, was declared unfit for battle. Canada heard this and was indescribably happy. Even his friend Sugita Yuki, who possessed fire magic, had already joined the main team. The main hero tried to assure himself that he was not jealous of his friend at all. But no matter how much he hid it, jealousy still slowly ate away at his self-confidence. A month passed since everyone was recruited, and already from the third squad many people began to leave training. It was hard for them to adapt to the harsh lessons in life in the new world, so they fled to Kanadi's store. Over time, serious conversations between them gradually turned into ordinary discussions about onigiri. This did not particularly encourage the hero. He constantly wondered when the chance to defeat the Dark Lord would finally appear and whether he would succeed. At that moment, Tamaki-saki saw his upset face and immediately guessed that something was wrong with him. She immediately ran up to the hero, trying to understand what had happened to him. Her care seemed to him even too strong, and it slightly embarrassed him. Her sincere attitude made the hero ashamed of his own reserve. Embarrassed, the hero admitted that sometimes everyone has important thoughts. Even he has such moments, although they happen rarely, but these thoughts remain in memory for a long time. But what was she doing here, together with friends from the first squad? It was strange for him to see them in this place. It seemed as if they had come to test fate or to challenge life itself. That is exactly how he felt about this situation. Tamaki calmly explained that she came here because there is an air conditioner and a toilet with water. This place was very convenient for her. The only thing was, the shop owner asked her not to sit on the table. The girl continued. I really do not wish to go back. Not everyone is ready to sincerely fight the Dark Lord. One thing is to listen to old tales by the campfire, and quite another when real evil stands before you, and everyone expects you to show courage. But everyone thinks so. Even Akinoze. She believes that most people do not like what is happening at all. The girl called Assassin agrees with this too. Almost no one likes it. Tamaki said that she did not want to defeat this Dark Lord at all. The hero asked in surprise if it was a joke, but her face was completely serious. Probably she was really just very tired. The thing is, if the first team she joins does not defeat him, then they will all stay here forever. No one can just stand aside and do nothing. These are not empty words because everyone carries an invisible duty. They are obliged to win. The girl assured that they would handle everything together, and that everything would be fine. Then she unexpectedly said that she would protect Kanada. This offended him a little because he felt powerless and unnecessary. She only smiled warmly at her words, said nothing in response, but her sincere smile was so kind that even the smallest worries immediately disappeared. Tamaki-saki waved goodbye to her friends and returned to her room. Kanada sighed with relief. Finally, everyone had left, and silence settled in the house. He wondered if it would be better to leave the door open until everyone returned. All the tasks were already done, so there was nothing more to do. Kanamori appeared unexpectedly. It turned out that one member of their team was missing, Minazuki Yohei, who is known here by the nickname Kope-Nick. In fact, he quite often visits these parts. Kuramoto said he was very worried because the boy did not come to training again. The one they were looking for looked confused, as if caught off guard. His face suddenly went pale, and his eyes started darting in different directions. He quickly needed to come up with a reason why he disappeared. The boy apologized and explained that he felt unwell, so he decided to rest a bit in the store where there is air conditioning. However, Kanada noticed that he was speaking too formally, and this made her suspicious. Kanamori Green smiled to himself, and a mysterious spark flashed in his eyes. He quietly said that he understood everything. His smile became sly, and it was clear. He had some plan maturing in his mind. So what did he decide to do? He began to mock. Here gather the heroes of the third squad. They use this store to rest and support each other, to somehow feel needed. Smiling, he added, "This is quite a suitable place for those whom no one else needs anymore." The water mage noticed that there was almost nothing left here, and soon everything would be overgrown with grass. But immediately 3 people began to object to him. They indignantly asked who he thought he was. After all, an ordinary otaku should not grow proud just because he acquired a powerful skill. Minadzuki intervened, noticeably worried about the growing tension. He asked everyone to be more polite to these two. His hands and voice trembled, and it was clear that he was very upset, although he did not admit why. Suddenly, the store was covered by a powerful wave of water. No one was ready for this. Even Kinos froze in surprise. Water streams poured from all sides, as if an invisible shooter was directing this unstoppable force. What just happened? The man instantly ducked behind the cash register, as if afraid of becoming the next attack's victim. and Kanamori stood calmly and just watched everything happening, with a satisfied expression on his face, as if he even liked this chaos. So much water poured in that not only heroes were swimming in it. All the things that once lay quietly on the shelves also lifted and were carried around the room. It seemed the water was absorbing everything in its path. No one could say when this magical flooding would end, and how to survive its consequences. So this is his unique power? He understood that he had great strength, but he did not imagine it was so strong. He begged the water mage to stop, but the latter was so captivated by his magic that he did not even hear his words. How did this worthless boy dare to stand against Kanamori, a player of the main team? His smile did not add confidence, but only caused anxiety. Kanamori slowly raised his hand, and the water around him swirled even faster. He laughed sinisterly, and thought that even after ending up in another world, scoundrels still remain scoundrels. He was surprised that the same people who had just argued with him had not changed. Amid the roar of water and the anxious shouts of classmates, he suddenly heard a calm and confident voice. This surprised him. The boy turned toward the sound. Everyone was sure that there was no chance to survive after his appearance. Of course, it was impossible to ignore this. After all, Kuramuchi Yuto himself addressed him. Obviously, he wanted to share something important with Kanata. Therefore, while the water mage had not yet taken him away, it was better to stop and listen carefully. As soon as the squad commander stepped forward, Kanamori immediately lowered his hands, and the elements calmed down at once. Respect and a certain interest appeared in his eyes. When Akinos finally coughed up and spat out the water, the squad commander himself approached him. He addressed him by name. "Hello, Kanata." The commander's voice was calm, but a barely noticeable smile flashed in it. The boy looked up and admitted that he did not expect such cruelty from his classmate, even though they had not communicated for a long time. He added that silence for a month was not a reason to behave so coldly. But nothing changed on Kuramoshi's face. No muscle twitched. What exactly was he going to say to him? Uto spoke in a businesslike tone, as Albi Brief did, and his voice sounded serious, even somewhat official. The interlocutor immediately tensed. He seemed to recognize his classmate, but at the same time, he seemed completely foreign to him. It seemed he wanted Canada to leave this city. But what exactly was the matter? The leader of the first squad explained that because of Canada's presence, some weaker people gradually distanced themselves from the real world. The problem was not only with the third squad, which did nothing. Even the main team went to the Akinoshi store more often than they dealt with truly important matters. Discipline was weakening, and Yuta did not understand at all how to stop this wave of indifference. The boy replied that this also worried him. It was hard for him to find words, but he admitted there was a painful but necessary truth in what he heard. Yuta does not stop. To return to their native world, they must defeat the Dark Lord at any cost. For this, they need to unite and work together as a real team. Then he began to insist that Canada's ability was not only useless, but also harmful. According to him, this power only interfered with the true heroes doing their important work. He even said it would be better if Canada left the city himself, because he would be expelled anyway. Could it be that the store owner really has to leave this kingdom? The boy realized that now the most important thing for him was not to lose what he valued most. He addressed Kuramochi, explaining that he understood his feelings, but asked for some time to think everything over carefully. Suddenly finding oneself in a completely foreign world is too difficult a test for anyone. However, knowing the squad commander's character, one could not expect understanding from him. He only laughed and told Kanata that he could think about it, but only until morning. Perhaps, if he had fallen to his knees and begun to beg, he would have taken pity and given him some money for the road. Kanamori smiled slyly again from behind the official's back, and the young man only calmly replied that he was fine. Yuto never ceased to admire his team, for only the strongest heroes were with him. Victory over the Dark Lord seemed a matter of time. Even the so-called defeat, namely Canada, could no longer be worried about. Everything looked resolved. But the shop owner could not forget one word. Inevitable. Kuramochi confessed that he dreamed not just of winning, but also of returning home to personally save the modern world. Hearing this, Akano looked at him as if he thought he was truly out of his mind. Looking straight into Kanada's eyes, he shares his incredible plans. He believes that in the modern world, people are deprived of the freedom to think independently. Now that he has acquired supernatural powers, he seeks to return and make everyone obey him, like some kind of god. At that moment, the boy realized. It seemed this man had completely lost his mind. His eyes shone with a wild fire, and a strange smile appeared on his face. Now he seemed even more dangerous and unexpected than before. What if this is his true nature? Everything he wanted was for Kanata to leave the city. Kuramati rejoiced, understanding that he had been correctly interpreted. A satisfied smile appeared on his thin lips. Before leaving, he cast a condescending glance at him, and with a slight smile said that he should pray for their victory over the Dark Lord. His words sounded so confident, as if the victory had long been decided, although the battle had not even begun. After some time, Kino stood next to his shop and rejoiced that everything had worked out for him. It turned out it was enough just to close the shop and then open it again, and everything fell into place. Tamaki could not understand what he was talking about. She learned that Minazuki and her entire team had suffered a great misfortune. When she arrived at the scene, she saw that the shop was almost destroyed. She asked Kuramochi if he really wanted Canada to leave the kingdom of Grandel. Such humiliation cannot be endured. The girl decided that she would talk to him honestly and openly. It was noticeable that this situation worried her greatly. The boy was surprised. Of course, he was pleased to hear this. But wasn't she among the chosen? After all, she was part of the first team along with Kanamori and Kuramoti. After some time, Kino stood next to his shop and rejoiced that everything had worked out for him. It turned out it was enough just to close the shop and then open it again, and everything fell into place. Tamaki could not understand what he was talking about. She explained that in this special group, everyone participates as much as they can, and she had already told him about this earlier. He should pay more attention to her. However, overall everything was fine. At first, Kanata did not even believe her words. Among all the participants in the hero training program, Kuramachi stands out the most. Along with him, 4 others train: Water Mage Kanamori, Ice Mage Kirishima, Shield Defender Mitsuki, and skilled swordsman Saki. The rest, including the girl killer, mostly just stay in the palace. Most of them no longer even attend training. They got bored. As it turned out, only 5 remain truly active now. At first, everything looked different. Everyone diligently attended lectures and listened to the instructors. But when practical monster hunting sessions began, everyone's attitude changed. Recently, they held a demonstration fight with orcs. Kirishima, who wielded ice magic, shot ice arrows at the opponents, and this scared everyone around. But Kanata noticed that after the incident with Kanamori, nothing could surprise him anymore. The girls said that Kanamori was even more cruel. He liked to torture enemies and mock them for a long time, choosing the most painful ways to kill. Therefore, she could not stand him at all. The boy asked Tamaki what she thought about that strange boy. Tamaki immediately understood that he meant Kuramachi. She knew much more about him than she wanted to, but decided not to hide the truth. Perhaps this conversation would help the boy avoid trouble. At first glance, he is an ordinary boy, always attentive, hard-working, and a successful student. His tasks are always completed excellently, and he never misses training. In the palace, they speak only well of him, as he seems flawless. But behind this perfect appearance, something else is hidden. However, the girl admitted that she and he often had disputes, and recently he even began to scare many. The hero asked again, encouraging her to tell in more detail what exactly happened. The former class president began to say that after training, everyone calmly went home. Nothing special happened, but Kuramochi immediately went to the Crusaders' barracks. Kanata at first thought he must have misheard. So it turns out that Yudo spends evenings with the handsome Crusaders. The hero jokes with a smile, calling him a merry fellow. To lighten the atmosphere a bit, he adds that Tamaki has quite unusual preferences and reactions, and it seems this turn of events surprised her. It turned out that Kuramochi started a relationship with the queen, and now everyone perceives him as the future ruler of the state. Even Minazuki decided not to argue with him. Kanata, recalling recent events, realized that Minazuki is simply afraid of Kuramochi. On the other hand, if they were wrong, they could be accused of conspiring against the favorite of the entire royal court, and the punishment would be severe. The girl noted with surprise, communicating with the proud commander of the first squad had become much harder. Kanata thought that Lord Kuramachi surely planned something evil after the defeat. Meanwhile, Tamaki Saki decided to take a break and was just spreading a blanket on the floor of the shop to rest a bit. Time passed, and only a few hours remained until dawn. It seemed that after that madman seized power, a real chasm had grown between him and Kanata. All the events of that day troubled the hero. He could not fall asleep. He sighed deeply. Thoughts spun in his head without rest. Akino hoped that at least Tamaki would try to influence the leader of the first squad and make him think. But perhaps it was still not worth standing in his way. While Akino hesitated with his thoughts, the mercenary was already sound asleep, seeing her 10th dream. Suddenly, burning arrows flew into the shop windows with a crash. Bright flashes lit up the room, and the hero was very frightened. The young man quickly ran up and woke his comrade. At first, she did not quite understand what was happening. Kaneda took her by the hand and confidently led her deeper into the building, holding her tightly beside him. Half awake, the girl unsuccessfully tried to piece together everything that had happened. It seemed to her as if her mind was enveloped in a thick fog. The boy suggested watching the surveillance camera footage. Maybe it would show who wanted to interfere with them. Suddenly, the queen appeared before them, riding a horse with her armed guard walking beside her. Crusaders stood before them, and Machi hurried to hide behind her classmate's back. She did not expect such a turn of events at all. Kanata could not even imagine that the head of Grandel herself would come to him personally to clarify everything. The hero guessed. This girl came to carry out Kuramochi's order and force him to leave. But Tamaki could not believe it. Why complicate everything so much? Maybe they just wanted to scare them, or hoped they would decide to leave on their own. Suddenly, from the far end of the corridor, a ringing voice echoed, spreading like an echo and making everything around freeze. It became increasingly clear. It was Queen Gradel Cruzy who appeared so that everyone would know of her arrival. It turned out that because of the church's decision, the shop owner was called a heretic, as they suspected he was helping the Dark Lord. I didn't hear all the details very well, but since then he was banished from the kingdom forever. And that's not all. It was hard to imagine that he could have committed so many terrible crimes in this month. How is that possible? Akinos was constantly in the store, so it is unclear when he managed to become such a dangerous criminal. Tamaki stood up for him and insisted that he would never have done such a thing. In reality, this was untrue and an exaggeration. However, to everyone on the outside, it seemed as if she was not defending her friend, but deliberately ignoring reality. The hero had already been unfairly accused many times, and now he sat, dejected, at the table. It was obvious that Kuramochi was just making up various nonsense to ruin his good name. Could anyone really stoop that low? The queen did not stop and kept throwing accusations, not letting him say a word. She sternly ordered him to obediently obey her will and immediately leave the country. And if he did not listen, she threatened to burn him along with the entire shop. He couldn't even imagine such a turn of events. If it was impossible to avoid this terrible situation, at least Tamaki had to be saved. He gestured to her towards the back exit and ordered her to run while there was still time. The girl killer was momentarily confused. She assured that she would not abandon him alone, no matter how hard it would be. She suggested running away together, but the criminal noted he was already being hunted, and if she stayed nearby, she would also be in danger. The shop owner sighed and admitted that he had no choice but to surrender. Fortunately, he still had an option, and he understood it. His words sounded in the silence like a heavy stone falling into water. He looked around his shop once more as if bidding it farewell forever. The girl again barely whispered that she did not want this. Her voice wavered like thin glass about to shatter at any moment. Fear and hesitation were visible in her gaze. She lowered her head low and blushed slightly embarrassed, reminding him of her given promise. No matter what happens, she will always be on his side and protect him. Tears appeared in her eyes. Kaneda could not believe that the class president could be so sensitive. It surprised him greatly. Aquanat gently ran his hand through her soft hair and reassured her that everything would be fine. His warm fingers softly glided over the silky strands, and it seemed as if he was passing his own calm to her. He promised, if they manage to escape and meet again, she will be able to go to the toilet, and he will buy her even more seaweed for her guinea pig. All she needs now is just to listen to him. The girl did not expect such an answer and was very surprised. She drove him away. In fact, she went to the store every day not because of discounts or good deals, but simply because she wanted to see him. After all, he was the one working there. The hero did not think about what the girl killer wanted to say with her words, but simply sent her out the door, trying to protect her. Kanata responded with a few silly phrases, promised to pray for their team's victory over the Dark Lord, and asked Tamaki to take care of herself until the very end. With tears in her eyes, Tamaki confessed that she had never met such an unusual boy before. She did not allow him to die and sternly reminded him of his promise. Kanata just waved his hand in response, but her words stayed with him for a long time. He stood a little longer and looked where Tamaki had disappeared. Hearing unusual sounds behind him, the boy turned sharply. Akino informed the guards that he seemed not to plan to fight. His behavior showed that he had no weapons on him. The boy found himself surrounded by enemies. Their swords were so close they almost touched his neck. The sharp, blade-like edges of their blades radiated danger. Kanata appeared calm, although strong feelings were boiling inside him. The queen agreed with his decision to surrender, considering it a worthy act for a criminal. Raising her hands, the hero noticed her confidence in his guilt. Cruz looked down at him from above and said that they probably would never meet again. Perhaps it was because of this that she called him a worthless person without hesitation. The guard simply showed him the door and he, confused, walked away, not even imagining where to go next. The door closed heavily behind the boy. He walked forward slowly, immersed in his own anxious thoughts. Everything that happened seemed unfair to him. Why did it happen to him? Was he really worth nothing? Where exactly did he make a mistake? Meanwhile, it was already starting to get dark in the sky. He still did not understand where he should go next. The uncertainty made the hero nervous. Advancing deeper into the Salatus forest, he felt complete darkness settle around him. Tall trees intertwined their branches so densely that sunlight did not penetrate here at all. And with every step, fallen leaves rustled underfoot and thin twigs snapped, making the atmosphere even more tense. It was so dark here that even the familiar fields near grandmother's house seemed less eerie than this place. He cautiously looked around and a chill ran down his spine, as if the darkness itself could come alive here. The hero dreams of returning to the city right now, but if he is recognized, they might capture and burn him, since he was once expelled. If everything remains as it is, Kanata may become another hero from their class who will no longer be. In the night forest, even the quiet rustle of leaves can instill real fear. Akino constantly looks around warily, listening to every rustle. His heart pounds wildly when a branch snaps or an owl's cry sounds nearby. But at that very moment, Akino remembered one very important detail. If he had this ability to the store, then couldn't he create it anywhere just by imagining it? He decided to try and ordered the store to appear right now, and his premonition came true. Kanata reviewed footage from cameras throughout the store and noticed wild, aggressive animals sneaking up on him. On every screen, the danger was getting closer, their movements well coordinated as if they were about to attack. Oh, trouble. They are surrounding him from all sides. The boy understood. These creatures definitely reach for the light. So he decided that he needed to turn off the lighting in the entire store as soon as possible. Looking around, he did not immediately see where the switch was. Breathing was becoming increasingly difficult, and his heart was pounding uncontrollably in his chest. Kanata was drenched in sweat, which was pouring into his eyes as he tensely searched further. Could this really be the end? Akino suddenly became frightened, realizing that he was just an ordinary owner of a small shop and had never turned off the light here. Could it really be that there is no switch? Maybe the lighting here can be turned off by a simple clap of the hands. Kanata thought that he should at least try to protect himself, so he decided to block the entrances. He began taking out boxes and carefully stacking them near the doors, hoping that this would somehow help stop the danger. At that moment, Kanata suddenly heard a quiet rustle. Hearing the noise, he turned around and noticed two predators that had already entered the building. Their yellow eyes shone like little flames, and saliva dripped from their wide-open jaws, further emphasizing their sharp and dangerous fangs. He could only remain silent and wait. These creatures looked nothing like ordinary dogs or wolves. They rather resembled real monsters. His mind was blank. If these monsters attacked, he would have no chance to escape. In principle, he had already accepted the thought that they would eat all the food supplies from the shelves anyway. Kanata simply wished that they would not come near him. But suddenly he accidentally dropped something, and this immediately caught their attention. The boy decided that his time had come. The wolf-like creatures became alert and began stalking the boy. They sniffed the air, catching even the slightest scent, and their ears were tense and listening around like real locators. Instinct told them that the victim was nearby. The search did not last long, and the boy noticed a terrible, strange creature rushing straight toward him, with another chasing after it. It seemed time slowed down, and every second stretched endlessly long. Fortunately, the door was locked, so Kanata had a moment to think about what to do next. Without wasting a second, he quickly went through all the ways he could save himself. There was very little time, so he was very nervous. His gaze immediately fell on the fire extinguisher lying here in case of fire. Without hesitation, he rejoiced at the find. He didn't care what to defend himself with. The main thing was that there was at least some possibility. He quickly pulled the pin from the fire extinguisher and aimed the hose at the uninvited guests. "Hey, wolves, how do you like that?" A stream of foam burst from the nozzle, hitting the muzzle of the nearest wolf directly. The beasts showed their teeth fearfully but did not dare to approach. They clearly did not expect such a turn of events. Kanata again felt confident in himself. If he continued to act the same way, they would definitely run away. Suddenly, he noticed something strange. Someone was moving through the thick foam. This shocked him, as he could not even imagine such a thing. The fire extinguisher worked for only a few seconds and then stopped functioning. The boy spoke to it as if it were a real living creature. It seemed like some kind of game, but he was really in danger. A little more, and he could have died there. Seeing that the fire extinguisher would no longer help, Kanata nervously laughed. His shoulders trembled, and his fingers convulsively squeezed the empty cylinder in his hands. The laughter echoed from the walls and seemed completely inappropriate amid the deafening silence. Suddenly, despair overwhelmed him. It seemed that he would be the first to die here. He would become an easy target for the first monsters that crossed his path. His mind was confused, with no clear thought. How powerless he was now. He sighed heavily and leaned against the door. And from the other side, persistent sounds were already heard, as if beasts, hungry wolves or something similar, were scratching. The fire extinguisher lay beside him, and the same boxes he had counted on were now scattered messily around. Mom, Dad, and the cat. That little rascal. Surely they were worried now and thinking about him. Images of his relatives appeared one after another in his memory. These memories supported him, but at the same time tore his heart in two. He wondered if Tamako had managed to avoid danger. He imagined her, smiling, full of faith in the better, as always. He became curious whether she was all right. He felt that he had to survive not only for his family, but also for her. If she suddenly found out that he died right here, would she shed a tear? The last time they met, care was felt in her gaze, and perhaps a slight hint of tenderness. Had he been mistaken in his impressions? These thoughts constantly spun in his head and gave him no peace. He was not especially close to her. But why, in this difficult moment, did he remember her? Did the hero feel something more for this girl than just friendship or sympathy? Or maybe it was just a subconscious attempt to protect himself from fear. It seemed that finally silence had come. The boy looked carefully at the cameras, then cautiously opened the door, assessing if everything was safe around. He was alarmed by the unusual silence. After all the recent events, the complete absence of even the slightest sound seemed suspicious to him. Opening the door, he saw his shop. The windows were shattered, food was scattered everywhere, and in every corner there were traces of unknown people who had already managed to escape. It seemed that he had managed to survive. Kanata raised his hand to shield his eyes from the bright morning sun and thought, surely these monsters fear the light of dawn. His body ached from pain and fatigue, but most importantly, he remained alive. A hint suddenly appeared on the screen. The level of his store had increased. The hero was surprised because he expected nothing like that. What happened? These were not just voices in his head, were they? After a hard, drawn-out day, Kanat himself stopped understanding what was really happening and what only seemed to him. Everything around unfolded so quickly that he almost lost his mind. Kanana remembered that he could find out about his condition at any moment if he just thought about it. So he decided to take advantage of this opportunity right now. He looked at his stats and realized he had leveled up because he managed to protect the store. That was the secret. Among other things, he noticed many new changes. So much had appeared that he wanted to see it all as soon as possible. But he will think about this later. Now Kanata collapsed exhausted onto the cold marble floor of his workshop, face down. Everything that had happened in the last hours flashed through his memory. Battles with monsters, escapes, desperate attempts to survive. So much happened that day that the exhausted shop owner only dreamed of rest. Fatigue piled up one after another, and thoughts gradually blurred and lost clarity. Soon he was so overcome by sleep that he stopped hearing anything, neither the sound of hooves under the window nor any other disturbing noises. Meanwhile, the shadows on the road along which Lady Tina was walking grew increasingly dense. It was too early to rejoice in the silence. The loud noise still woke him up. Kanata slowly opened his eyes, and true rage shone in his gaze. This was already the second night in a row that he could not fall asleep. What happened this time? Could the Grandales have gone hunting for him again? That's unlikely, because if that were the case, Kanat would no longer be alive. Meanwhile, a terrifying scream sounded very close, like the last wail before death. The boy thoughtfully leaned his elbows on the table. If it wasn't done by any of them, then who was it? After reviewing the camera footage, he noticed nothing suspicious, so the only way left was to figure everything out himself. Personally, Kanata peeked out from behind the tree and noticed a carriage nearby. Several dark figures stood by it, and the horses looked anxious and restless, as if sensing something bad. It seemed that bandits had attacked the carriage. When he looked more closely, a terrible scene unfolded before his eyes. One man was kicking another to death, while another just sat nearby and watched indifferently. Lifeless bodies lay around, and behind the carriage bags and several accomplices were visible. What a horror! It just doesn't fit in the head. He urgently needed to run away from here while there was still a chance to remain unnoticed. But it was already too late. Strange people turned to him. In the darkness, their eyes gleamed terrifyingly. A young girl ran past them, distracting everyone from the hero. They tried to shout something to her, but she didn't even turn around. Her chest burned from the fast running, and her heart seemed about to jump out of her body. Canada took notice of her and was genuinely surprised that someone had managed to survive. The girl looked frightened. Tears welled up in her eyes, and her shoulders trembled with fear. She tightly clenched her fingers, trying not to cry, and these gestures spoke more than any words. Then the boy realized. He must protect her no matter what happens. But how to act next? He hesitated, overwhelmed by fear and an irresistible desire to help. But he could not find a concrete plan. Panic seized him, preventing him from gathering his thoughts or calmly assessing what was happening. Assistant. But he quickly realized that he could not handle them alone. Moreover, the enemies were armed, and the girl constantly ran away from them. Every step she took echoed in his head like a sharp pain. I heard the bandits quietly whispering. From their conversation it became clear. They did not plan to kill her. Their goal was different, to take her alive and gratify themselves as they wished. Inside him, a furious rage grew when he realized the true meaning of these words. The boy's fear vanished, replaced by determination to defend justice. He clenched his fists tightly. He could not simply allow the girl to remain in trouble, for he was an alien from another world and felt obligated to help those in need, even if he himself had been expelled from the kingdom. Then he remembered his special skills and decided to open a shop right here. To do this, he had to use a somewhat awkward spell, but the desire to create something good was much stronger than his embarrassment. No one even suspected that this would happen. A spark of hope for salvation flashed in the girl's eyes, and the bandits suddenly became confused. Kanata took advantage of the opportune moment and raised the blinds in the store. As soon as the girl heard the invitation, she quickly hid behind her savior's back, barely holding back the trembling in her knees and trying not to breathe so that no one would notice her. The bandits realized that they should have shot at the legs only when the iron grate of the store had already come down, making it impossible to shoot with a bow. It was thanks to the quick reaction that 2 lives were saved. Inside the Kanat store, he finally felt safe. But now a new question arises. What to do next? He is confused and worried. His thoughts jumbled, and his heart beats so fast that he cannot think of anything else. In his mind, there are only anxious images of the future that frighten him even more. Watching everything happening through the cameras, he noticed how the bandits were trying to break inside. This did not calm him at all, as there were too many of them, acting in coordination, splitting into small groups to cover as much of the building as possible. Kanata had already decided that all difficulties were in the past. But then a new, unexpected obstacle appeared. Behind him stood strangers who could not find words to express their gratitude. Only now he finally managed to look at her properly. The girl's big eyes shone with joy, but it was still noticeable that she had not yet recovered from the events that had happened to her. She stood a little uncertainly, as if still fearing new dangers around, and Canada looked at her and thought she looked quite cute. At first he thought she might be an elf, but quickly dismissed the idea. There was no time to think as the strangers in black were already trying to break in, and the girl was scared again, so something had to be done without delay. Meanwhile, the criminals had already pierced the roof with a spear. This was visible even without surveillance cameras. Checking the computer, the boy saw that there were 3 bandits inside, so he began preparing to meet them. Kanata sighed in disappointment. And how else could one feel here? The fire shutters could not hold out for long, especially now. The distressed lady nearby grabbed his jacket as if to make sure all this was really happening. Turning around, he noticed how she looked at him with hope in her eyes. Her frank and sincere gaze could melt the heart of any person. If he were a true hero, he would have long ago come to her aid, doing everything beautifully and effortlessly. But, unfortunately, reality was quite different. Life is not like a fairy tale. The little girl really needed support. Canada gently hugged her shoulders, looked into her eyes, and promised. When the bandits break in, he would distract their attention, and she could escape. He assured her that he would always be nearby and protect her from everything. The girl was surprised by his courage, a little confused, but a shy smile appeared on her face. This could not but please him. Suddenly, the bandits' shouts and the crack of broken glass at the window sounded. This made everyone turn around. 3 robbers burst into the room, looking for a boy named Canada. They were rampaging, destroying and smashing everything around, demanding that he show himself. They looked irritated because they could not understand what was happening at all. One of them wondered what kind of strange building this was. Everyone was tired of uncertainty and incomprehensible events. But suddenly one of those present noticed the closed door. He pointed to it to the others, suggesting that perhaps the victim and the rescuer were hiding there. Canada had just thought that they were going to leave when suddenly a sword appeared right by the door and began breaking them. The boy instantly ducked to remain unnoticed and began quickly considering his next actions. At that moment, he recalled yesterday's adventure when he managed to drive away the terrible monsters. The fire extinguisher then came in handy. He needed to use this wonderful device again. Fortunately, it was standing very close. While the criminals were surprised, the girl would have a chance to escape. He had already shared his brilliant plan with her when suddenly he noticed that something was going wrong. The computer camera noticed another thief walking around the store. Again, all plans could be ruined. What should the hero do next? He could attack the enemy, allowing her to escape. But then he would not be able to hold back the others who remained inside. He was troubled that his plan turned out to be so limited. They had to hurry because the axe was already chopping the door, and the bandits were shouting and threatening death. The girl pressed herself to the wall in fear and almost cried. Suddenly it dawned on him. The fire alarm. This could be the chance to save the girl. The attackers most likely did not expect such a turn. For the boy, this seemed like his only opportunity to get out. At first, the residents of Veliki Ale were frightened by the strange noise. Such technology was a complete novelty for them. The elders only shook their heads and whispered, calling it witchcraft, while the younger ones eagerly peered out the windows, trying to understand where the sound was coming from. The boy quickly took the box of matches, lit one match, and brought it to the device hanging from the ceiling. He was convinced that even criminals would not guess such a turn of events, and Kanata turned out to be right. The bandits were really confused and very scared. When water suddenly poured down on them, they did not immediately realize what had happened and where to run. Everyone started to panic like wild animals in a trap, looking for a way out, but no one knew where to go. The bandits were sure it was some kind of magic, and suddenly fell to the floor, either from shock or perhaps because of the slippery tiles under their feet. They watched in amazement as their weapons suddenly slipped from their hands and hung in the air as if held by an invisible force. Besides this rumble will force the bandits to be distracted from their plan, and Kanata, who, together with the stranger, hid under the table, will get the chance to escape. Maybe someone outside will hear the noise and hurry to help. Suddenly the boy and the girl heard a loud, wild roar. Could it be that a black wolf appeared here? I did not want to expose myself to more danger and scare this kind woman. Kanata looked ahead with anxiety. Could these really be the same monsters that appeared last night? The time has come to turn off the fire alarm. Immediately after that, the water stopped flowing, and the room became somewhat quieter. There was already plenty of noise here. Still, this equipment did its job. We thank it for that. Suddenly, a cry of retreat rang out among the bandits, and they began to flee, leaving their wounded behind. Seeing the monsters, panic broke out in the camp. Everyone ran away because no one wanted to become prey. Their fear was entirely justified, but in hindsight, it would have been better if they had never appeared in this place at all. Everyone was so confused that they did not even notice how one of them was left alone. The hungry beast instantly focused on him and approached very closely. Canada and the stranger only silently watched, hoping the horror would soon end. She pressed tightly against him and covered her ears with her hands to avoid hearing what was happening. The shop owner gently stroked the girl's head, wishing to calm her down. It hurt her to hear the child's quiet crying, but over time everything around quieted, and the woman did not dare to raise her head to look at the girl, who in turn was also afraid to raise her eyes. Having made sure that nothing threatened her, he reassured her. There were no more robbers or wolves. Everything was behind them. The danger had passed. She still did not dare to raise her eyes, hiding her gaze behind long black lashes. When silence and calm prevailed around again, he was able to look at her more closely. She had a flawless face shape, her hair was nicely styled, and she wore neat and expensive clothes. The girl held on to him tightly, as if seeking salvation in him. Akinos was very surprised when he realized that sometimes certain circumstances can instantly sharpen some feelings while completely dulling others. He was so absorbed in searching for a solution that he did not even realize how all this time he was holding a charming girl in his arms. Kanata was confused. It was hard for him to understand how to behave so that she would not think anything strange about him. The girl, however, looked at him attentively and seemed to be expecting something. Could it be that he really did something unnecessary? After all he did was simply try to save her life. His touches were not intentional. But no matter how much he convinced himself, He could not get rid of the thought that he acted incorrectly. He understood that he had to control himself and gather his thoughts. Kanano was impressed. It was the first time all evening that the girl spoke. She suddenly screamed, confessing that she was very scared. Fortunately, there was no one in the building whose anger or fear her scream could provoke. In this situation, her feelings were completely justified. The shop owner barely held back tears. She hugged him again and started crying, and he could only gently stroke her light hair. The hero remembered that before the monsters returned, he needed to quickly tidy up the store. After all the events, the building was in terrible condition. The grate and doors were damaged, and the floor remained wet. However, the girl was still frightened and upset. Kanata could not just turn around and leave her in such a state. He decided, first, he needed to calm this fragile stranger, and only then think further. She seemed so small that Kanata could almost completely cover her back with his hands. Just as Kanata wanted to hug her, he suddenly heard the familiar sound of a pop-up window. The system notified him that he had leveled up. This annoyed him a little, but now he wanted to check his stats. The main character noticed a new cover on the light switch. It had not been there before. This surprised even the shop owner. Why did it appear only at the 3rd level? It could have been here from the very beginning. Kanata's anger was simply uncontrollable. The stranger, who until now trusted the calmness of her protector, was even frightened by such a storm of emotions. Walking west together with the girl Salada, Kanata listened carefully to her explanations. She became happier with every step and no longer seemed scared, although she knew that the forest hid many dangers and mysteries. She took the seller by the hand as if they had known each other for a long time, and this confused the boy again. If everything goes well, in a few days they will already be in the city. Hearing these words, the stranger lit up with a happy smile. She sincerely thanked the boy for his help and gave her name, Tina Arnuis. The girl was still very young, only 16 years old. She told the boy that she was the daughter of Sahara Arnuish, a merchant from the city of Kadena. That was exactly where they were heading, traveling through this forest. The boy listened to her, holding his breath. Although the girl was also 16, like him, she seemed very confident and mature. Tina, recalling recent events, continued the story. The carriage slowly headed to the kingdom of Grandale with the cargo, when suddenly local bandits appeared on the road and attacked them. During the attack, the servants hid our new ward, saving her life, but tragically died themselves. Their bodies remained hidden around the corner, and we could not see them. This was a severe blow to the young lady. Recalling those events was especially difficult for her. She asked for them to be buried and thanked Kanat again for the help. In response, he said he could not act otherwise. His upbringing and life principles do not allow him to stand aside when someone needs support. Tina pondered and decided to ask a personal question, sincerely apologizing beforehand because she was a very well-mannered girl. Her politeness was evident even in how she constantly thanked people and always asked for forgiveness when necessary. She wanted to find out who really saved her. Maybe it was a famous mage. The boy was confused upon hearing such a suggestion. In fact, he was an ordinary person. His simple clothes confirmed it, and he could not even imagine that someone would mistake him for a wizard. Kanata also introduced himself and mentioned that he officially holds the title of Hero of the Shop from another world. He was about to explain that it was not exactly what he had expected, but unexpectedly Tina asked if he was really not a local. She was very surprised by this. Could it really be that the same legendary hero from another world is standing before her? The girl opened her eyes wide in surprise, and the hero even thought she might faint from joy. Kanata had no idea how important this was to her. Meanwhile, Tina began sharing everything she knew. In the kingdom of Ground Hill, everyone has long known. Heroes from other worlds are not fiction. There are so many books and fairy tales that tell how these heroes defeated darkness and saved the world. The young girl had read many exciting stories about their exploits. The boy guessed that they were equated with such legendary heroes as King Arthur, Perseus, or Yamato Takeru from Japan. For him, it was a true honor to be alongside the names of such famous personalities. But Kanata was very worried. If Tina ever found out that he was not a heroic savior, but a simple exile, she would probably be very disappointed in him. To avoid worrying too much about this, the shop owner decided to directly ask the girl if she knew how to get out of the forest. To this, the girl confidently said that she knew the way. The girl explained that she often travels merchant roads, since the nearest town is her own little town. Tina added that she could accompany the hero on the road, and looked him in the eyes attentively, expecting what he would say in response. Kanata never imagined that this could happen. When he asked her the question, she agreed with a smile. Then he realized this girl would always be near and support him. In the end, he still agreed to go with her. although one thought did not give him peace. She never let go of his hand, even when they were walking, having lunch, or doing exercises. Kanata was not used to this and decided that probably all the girls here were so confident in themselves. For him, who had always been lonely, this became a real challenge. Sometimes it was difficult for him to hide his embarrassment, and she immediately cast him an anxious look to make sure he was okay and whether he needed her support. He said that he was fine, but accidentally addressed the girl affectionately. Fortunately, he noticed it immediately and quickly corrected himself. At such moments, Kanata wanted to change the subject. He convinced Tina that they should immediately leave the forest before monsters or bandits caught them again. The main hero asked the girl if all monsters in this world really only appear at night. He wanted to clarify if he understood the situation correctly when he first encountered werewolf-like creatures. To make it easier for her to understand, he gave this very example. Tina confirmed that it was possible, but added, "There are many monsters with powerful magic that can move even during the day under the sun. Unlike monsters, bandits can attack even in broad daylight, so the heroes need to stay vigilant." Kanata nodded to the girl and thought to himself, it becomes creepy that even after all their adventures, danger is still nearby. The boy also addressed the newcomer with a question about where they were heading, whether it was really Kadena. And Kanata also decided to make sure he understood correctly that he too was under the influence of Grandales. The hero tensed up, the expression on his face clearly showing inner anxiety. In fact, he would have preferred not to approach cities that had any connection with this kingdom. However, for Tina, this was almost the first opportunity to talk to him, and she still knew nothing about his recent tragedies. Malady explained that Kadena is an independent fortified city created by free traders. It is still developing thanks to active trade, and is known as one of the most famous trading centers on the continent. Kanata was surprised to learn this. So, it really is possible to be free there. He became even more interested after this story. The girl replied that she did not know if it could be called freedom, but she really liked it because the atmosphere there was truly wonderful. It turned out that the road to Kadena on foot would take about 10 days. During the day they walked through the forest, and at night they hid in abandoned shops, avoiding encounters with bandits and monsters. Tina really liked the goods in the boy's store, especially the sandwich with bacon, fresh lettuce, and tomatoes, as well as the milk tea. She repeatedly joyfully said how delicious it was, and Kanata smiled, reminding her not to rush with the food so as not to choke. Kanata asked the girl if he understood correctly that their world had been at war with the Dark Lord's army for over a century. The girl confirmed his words and added that this year marked exactly 100 years since the first battle. After the girl's words, the hero truly pondered. When he first arrived in this place and heard the story from Queen Cruce, he was sure that the trouble had happened recently and that heroes could still be prepared for the fight. But now he realized he was very wrong. When he looked at Tina Arnouche, he became aware of how much people had lost over the years of this prolonged war. Rumors say that the territories under the Dark Lord's control continue to expand. To change the situation for the better, rulers of many countries decided to conduct a special summoning ritual. However, strangely, in all these years no country has managed to successfully perform this ritual. For the first time in the last 12 years, a joyful event occurred in the kingdom of Grandale. They managed to summon a hero from another world. Moreover, this time not just one, but a whole 31 heroes came. Kanata immediately realized that their class was here not by chance. They were brought here to fill the shortage of warriors in the army. In this battle with the Lord's army, people finally felt true hope for the first time. Everyone sincerely believed in the heroes, high school students who never even thought they would find themselves in such a story. Having listened to the girl, the hero replied that he understood everything. But a doubt remained in his soul. Could he really live up to everyone's expectations? Tina confidently denied, calling him Mr. Canada, and added that he was strong, handsome, kind, smart, and wonderful. At these words, the boy was confused, blushed, and immediately looked away. She reminded him that it was precisely thanks to his help that she remained alive. This thought made her see the shop owner, Akano Sakanata, as a true hero, and her voice trembled slightly with emotion, tears of gratitude appearing in her eyes. The boy was about to thank her, but suddenly wondered, is he worthy of such an honor? Moments of his own mistakes surfaced in his memory. He hesitated whether he could call such people heroes like himself. Although he came from another world, it should not be forgotten that he was expelled from there. He was branded a failure, and now this nickname has become part of his life. He decided not to tell her about it. After all, it was no longer possible to tell the truth. So it was better just to thank her and pretend that everything was fine. Postponing this conversation was impossible. The girl was still curious and intended to ask him a few more questions. Tina cautiously asked the hero what he plans to do when he arrives in the city. In response, he sincerely admitted that he currently has no plans. In fact, he never had any before. The girl smiled happily and invited him to stay. She said that her father would be happy to welcome the one who saved his daughter. Moreover, the newcomer dreamed of hearing the boy's stories because she was sure he knew many of them. When he began sharing his adventures, her eyes immediately filled with sincere, childlike curiosity. Kanata was ashamed to admit that he had no idea about this world at all. At the same time, he saw it as a chance to learn more about the new environment and live with the locals. He was worried about whether he would cause extra trouble for the girl's family, but she sincerely assured him that she would only be pleased if Kanata stayed with them. The hero thanked her, and she only smiled in response and lightly waved her hand as if saying, "It's nothing special." It seemed that helping others was as simple and natural for her as breathing. There was no hint of insincerity in her voice. By the way, Akanos never thought about what awaited him ahead. He simply lacked the time for it. The assortment in his shop had noticeably increased. Perhaps now was a good opportunity to start his own business. Constantly hiding in the shop is not a solution to the problem. It is necessary to gradually leave your comfort zone, get to know the surrounding world, and slowly prepare for unexpected situations. Strangely, the boy suddenly felt a wave of inspiration and joy. He was surprised how great it was to have a personal goal. Previously, he thought that only naive people could dream and strive for something. But it turned out that life becomes simpler and clearer when there is a goal. He hurriedly walked to the city in the company of his new friend, who was cheerful and kind. She really liked the idea and gladly supported it. Usually, he was reserved, but next to the girl he felt a surge of energy. After 10 days of travel, they finally arrived at the city of Cadena. Tired but with a spark of hope in their eyes, the travelers decided to take a short break and explore the new city. Although a difficult road was behind them, they felt that real adventures awaited them ahead. The girl gestured to indicate the direction to Kanata and proudly said that it was her hometown. She invited him to see how beautiful it was here, and indeed it was hard to take one's eyes off this beautiful landscape. The city turned out to be surprisingly large. Kanata was impressed by the ancient buildings that stood out against the backdrop of tall mountain cliffs. Having arrived here, he had no idea he would see such incredible beauty. As a true otaku, he immediately imagined that this place would be perfect for holding an anime festival. But Tina did not fully understand his enthusiasm, as the local people were interested in completely different things. Then Kanata explained differently. There are always many people here. The hero shared that in his world, anime festivals always have many people, just like here. She listened with fascination, imagining this amazing atmosphere when all fans of Japanese culture gather together. Tina admitted that she really liked it here. She had heard many exciting stories from other heroes about places like Akihabara and Ikebukuro, and dreamed of seeing them with her own eyes. The hero was surprised at how different everything around here was from what he had imagined. He thought about what would happen next. If he managed to return, would he be able to take this good girl with him? Would they find happiness somewhere far from this place? She deserves a happy life, and he wants to give it to her. Together with friends, they could go through many adventures in this world and even defeat the Dark Lord. But what will happen next? Will he meet Tina, who found herself in his world? Will they be able to be happy together? When the hero realized that accomplishing this was almost impossible, his heart filled with sadness, and he barely held back tears. He thought that happy endings happen only in fairy tales, not in real life. But these words unexpectedly slipped from his lips, and his partner was very surprised by this. Tina felt true happiness when she finally returned home after all the events that happened to her. Tears appeared in her eyes. The girl, as if she hadn't had time to say everything she wanted, took his hand once again. She sincerely admitted that only thanks to him they got here. She also said that she would never be able to truly repay him because his support has special value for her. She sincerely asked the hero for permission to repay him somehow differently. Kanata did not fully understand what exactly she meant. The young girl asked him to stay close and protect her, promising that she would live only for him. His heart was deeply touched by these words, and he involuntarily wondered, is there even one person in the world who could resist her charming gaze and gentle promises? Kanata wanted to say that he had done nothing heroic, but he lacked the words. The girl trembled slightly, holding tightly to her dress. He had never seen such sincerity and warmth in anyone's eyes before. In fact, the main hero should have thanked Tina. He just needed to quickly find a suitable reason for this. Hesitating a little, he said that if it weren't for Tina, He probably would have long ago gotten lost in this forest, and who knows how that would have ended for him. The girl sincerely rejoiced when she learned that she could help the one who saved her. She once again persistently asked to be allowed to help, despite the hero's anxiety and confusion. Suddenly, Nada noticed something unusual. Now it was their turn. The guards watched the travelers closely from under their helmets. Everyone felt the tension hanging in the air while the guards examined each person present with their stern gaze. Tina was shining with joy, and the boy seemed confused. He could not believe that everything was resolved so easily and simply. Maybe Tina's father is more important than Kanat thought. If the one he saved turned out to be the daughter of a wealthy man, it would be easy to imagine in some romantic manga. Tina shared that she has a special pass. The man paused for a moment, wondering where all these people standing next to them in line had come from. Each of them had different faces, unlike one another, but something common was felt among them. Maybe they really are all residents of Cadena? He sighed heavily again, thinking about his fate. If he were stronger and braver, he could become a true hero, and Tina might be the one who is always by his side. Why did he have to have such a worthless power? The girl noticed that the boy was looking at her too intently and asked him not to do so because she felt embarrassed. The girl explained that all these people are standing in line because they want to get the same past as hers. Nothing was visible around, but somewhere there is a place called Zastinia. I couldn't admit that I didn't quite understand. Tina explained. These are hired workers. They come to the city to earn money and then return back beyond the wall. Almost everyone waiting in line was from the same place. This area is located beyond the southern wall of the city. The people living here do not have the civil rights of Cadena. The hero asked if this part should be considered a completely separate city. How large this Cadena turned out to be. Narrow streets, unusual signs, and endless turns made Karate look around confusedly. Even his head was spinning. The only thing he worried about was not getting lost in this labyrinth. Then suddenly Tina gently took his hand. She decided to take him to her home. It was noticeable how much the girl missed her family. Kanata walked beside her and silently watched her, admiring how her gaze changed when she thought about her loved ones. She smiled and said she really wanted to introduce him to her father as soon as possible. The hero shifted his gaze to their intertwined hands and seemed to think about how quickly everything changes in life. Having passed through a series of narrow and noisy streets, arm in arm and his good friend Kanata reached their destination and froze in surprise. A large building stood before him. Could this really be her home? So who was she really? A noble lady whom the hero had no right to touch? Or maybe it all started with a mysterious story about a bride from another world chosen for the hero? One way or another, even if he did not want it, his guess turned out to be correct. That little girl really was the daughter of a rich man. She had no idea that there was anything unusual about it. The boy quietly hoped that he would not be scolded for the actions he took regarding the girl, as nothing serious had happened. Suddenly a man approached them. A man. Tina ran up to him and hugged him tightly around the neck. Donus, as he was called, told her that when he heard about the attack, he thought it was the end and he would not survive. But at that moment his heart was filled with joy because the girl and her friend had survived. She apologized in response for making him worry. Although she had actually done nothing wrong, apologizing without a special reason had already become a habit for her. After that, our new acquaintance introduced her rescuer to this man. He explained that he serves as a butler in the Arnuish family, and sincerely thanked for saving Lady Tina. Kanata only smiled modestly and said it was a trifle not worth thanking for. Suddenly the girl heard someone call her by name. Hearing the girl's words, Kanata realized. Before them was her father. The man also rejoiced, seeing his daughter alive, and reached out his hand to her. Kanata was sincerely glad that everything ended so successfully. Tina remained alive, returned to her father, and Kanata was proud that he was able to help her return home. Suddenly, father raised his hand against Tina. She did not understand why he did that. The man began to reproach the girl for returning empty-handed and accused her of causing their family to lose valuable property because of it. He rudely called her worthless and threatened that she would not be able to return home until she compensated for all the damages and returned the lost income. Kanata was very upset by how this adult behaved. He found it hard to endure such injustice and was about to intervene. But the butler stopped him, saying that these were family matters not to be interfered with. But the hero did not listen to him. Although he could not hit that smooth fool whom everyone called his father, he always found words to sharply respond to him for insulting the defenseless girl. If he dared to hurt her again, the boy would not forgive him. He even called Kanatu a beggar. Tina, sitting on the cold asphalt, absent-mindedly touched her cheek, which was burning from the pain after the blow. Her voice, always clear and confident, now sounded quiet and sad. Through tears, Tina begged Kanatu to come to her aid. The boy reminded that fat scoundrel that Tina was his own daughter and she had almost died. After everything that had happened, how dare he call himself her father at all? In every word of the boy, there was contempt for this man, if he could even be considered a man. The atmosphere was becoming increasingly tense. The man also did not want to back down, as he was convinced that the boy was crossing the line of what was allowed. It seemed he had completely forgotten about the city laws. Tina begged the man to stop, even kneeling before him. It was this man, risking his own life, who stood up to protect her. Who knows? Maybe one day he will save not only the kingdom of Grandel but the whole world. She also added that Mr. Canada is not an ordinary person, but a true hero who came from another world. Hearing these words, the cunning man barely smiled. What kind of hero is he if among all present only he was driven away and called a nobody? This only confirms that he was the most unlucky and worth nothing. Kanata gritted his teeth. He wanted the truth to come out differently, perhaps in a private conversation. He did not want to find himself in such an awkward situation in front of her relatives. Only one thought spun in his head. How will she treat him now, after everything she has heard? The father continued. This is exactly the treacherous man who is accused of numerous bad deeds. But he does not even suspect that all these accusations were specially created to tarnish Canada's good name. He was convinced that even a simple conversation with such a miserable person could tarnish the good name of the Arnui family. This angered him, so he drove the man away, pointing at him with his finger. Tina watched the scene sadly. At that moment the woman stood up and decisively, so that everyone could hear her, said that Kanata was a true hero to her, and no one dared to speak to him like that. Tears appeared in her eyes. Kanata heard these words and was confused because he knew that no one would believe him anyway. But the father did not even listen to her. He roughly grabbed Tina by the hand and ordered her to start working immediately since she had returned alive. Standing and talking was not for her. However, Tina did not want that at all. She sobbed desperately and called Mr. Kanata for help, but all he could do was reach out his hand to her. Her scream was so full of despair and helplessness that his heart clenched with pain. The hero found himself in the Zastania district and was surprised, because unlike other places, everything here looked like real slums. Everywhere dirt, abandoned houses, and a suffocating poverty was felt. The man sincerely apologizes for the harsh words his brother said, but Kanat thinks that he himself should be the one to apologize. In fact, he had no authority to interfere in Tina's family affairs, although he believed that in time they would still go their separate ways. If the boy took the girl by force, it would only create new, even bigger troubles. But this guy, clenching his fists, gathers courage. He politely apologizes for his persistence and asks for permission to ask a question. The man nods, allowing him to speak. Canada plans to open its store in the city and asks where a good place for this can be found. The man explains that if you do not have citizenship, you will not be allowed to engage in trade in the city. He suggests another method and advises doing it in the load-bearing wall. According to Adonis, everyone here can live peacefully and engage in trade. Newcomers are not expelled here, but are forced to live on the outskirts, as far away as possible from the protective wall. It is there that the greatest danger of attack lies, as if they are deliberately placed in front to serve as a living shield for the rest of the people. He stands alone in empty space, feeling defenseless and quietly hoping that nothing bad will happen now. Kanata sighs heavily. In the new world, a new life began for him, and he was filled with determination to overcome all the difficulties that lay ahead. People look around in surprise at the boy who suddenly shouted loudly. Near the store, Kanata invites aliens from another world to come in and rob the shop, because it is here that the rarest goods are gathered. People enter the store and cannot believe their own eyes. They had never seen anything like it before, and at that moment the man mentally recalls the residents of Grandale. Previously, he had almost no dealings with the locals, but now he began to communicate with them more. The main thing is that now he has a sincere desire to run this business, so soon everything will fall into place. A beautiful girl approaches the hero and asks what the story is. Kanata cheerfully explains that in this store you can find unique things and products from other worlds and encourages not to be shy about choosing what you like. The townspeople are surprised, but despite this they slowly begin to make purchases. The first customer bought a sandwich, and Kanata tasted it himself. He liked the taste, so he decided to do everything possible to ensure that visitors always found the food delicious and wanted to return. But suddenly an awkward silence fell between them. Kanata completely forgot to indicate the price of his goods. He is afraid because in Grandel he never had to spend money. There he was granted a royal scholarship, but he never even went shopping or bought anything. The boy does not yet understand exactly how money works and tries to recall the names of the coins, although he knows only 4 types. The young guy is a bit confused and trying to understand what is happening around. He announces the price, only 1 bronze coin. Everyone around stops, looking at him in surprise. Everyone suddenly rushes to the checkout to buy discounted goods, and this greatly frightens the main character. In the evening, the store closed. Kanata was very tired after a long working day. For him, this day turned out to be true madness. Later, a friendly woman clearly explained to him how to use the local money. Here for 1 copper coin you could get anything you wanted. If there was such a store in the world of Kanadi, he would visit it every day. The boy remembers the times when people gladly bought everything they saw, and now he understands how ridiculous it was. He thinks, if he had known about this situation in advance, he would definitely have asked Tina about the local money. He often thinks about that girl, worries about her, wonders how her life is going, and fears that she might have been disappointed in him. Kanata misses her terribly and dreams of meeting her again. Since the store started operating, a whole month has passed. During this time, he learned to speak the local language and gradually got used to the difficult work behind the counter. The man decided to set a rule. Everyone can take no more than 5 items at a time. They arranged a toilet that only visitors can use. He established a clear work schedule and even allocated 2 half-hour breaks to restock goods. Although the store sign says 24 hours in large letters, this does not correspond to reality at all. But the man hopes that the locals simply do not know what it means. There is only 1 cash register in the store, and so far Kanata takes care of everything. However, the locals have already started to monitor order and maintain the store themselves. The hero gradually begins to understand that he is becoming an integral part of this world. He is convinced that he has finally found in this world what he was born for, and what he had been trying to find for so long. The man knocked on the boy's door, trying to get his attention. Kanata opens the door and lets Zaril in, who came to get his goods. The boy hands him a bag with the money he earned yesterday. The man congratulates him on a job well done, and notes his shrewdness in trade. Zaril jokingly tells Kanata that he is a little jealous of him. The man, who seems strange and unfamiliar, actually turns out to be a Western merchant. They met for the first time about a week ago when a new store opened. That day the boy planned to rest a little, but suddenly he heard a stranger addressing him, which made him quite wary. The merchant smiled, peeked through the door, and offered a profitable and exciting deal. Kanata was scared because this man seemed suspicious to her. I decided to ask the store owner how he exchanges his earned money, but he didn't even understand what that meant. The merchant said that every item of the young man has a price of only 1 bronze coin. Because of this, he receives thousands or even tens of thousands of such coins daily. The trader was sure that the boy had already thought about where to store all of this. The hero really pondered this problem. Zero offers to exchange bronze coins for gold ones, but of course this has its conditions. He proposed to take only 0.5% of the amount for his services and convinced his interlocutor that such a deal was very profitable. Although the young man was very suspicious of the trader, he still seriously considered his offer. There were indeed too many coins in the shop, and this made him hesitate. Thus began their joint work. At the very beginning of the cooperation, the boy was nervous because he still did not know if he could trust this person. Despite the doubts, he continued to exchange coins with him. Despite everything, the boys continued to work together. The merchant jokingly calls Kanata a deity, which makes the boy embarrassed and asks him to stop inventing such nicknames. Kanata pondered. What if in their world there is not just one goddess Astia? Zaril says that she is indeed called a goddess. Therefore, in Grandale and other countries, power belongs to women, and the most famous people there are also women. Zaril explained that those who act like saints are considered by people to be incarnations of the goddess Astia. Nagog nods in agreement, although it still seems quite strange to him. He still finds it hard to get used to this, because his very existence is a true miracle, and it doesn't matter at all whether he is a boy or a girl. The merchant cannot believe that a hero with such extraordinary abilities was expelled from Grandale and considers the locals foolish. Kanata wonders how quickly the rumors spread and explains that he really did negotiate with the residents, but nothing came of it. The boy thoughtfully recalled Tamaki and began to worry about whether she is alive now and if she is doing well. He addresses Zaril and asks how things are going in Grando now. The merchant says that everyone knows not only about his expulsion, but also that other kingdoms actively support heroes. Unlike them, in Grandale it is strictly forbidden for heroes to leave the country's borders. Zaril asks the hero if he really wants to find out what is happening in the city. The hero confidently replies that he is interested. Among many heroes, there were not the best people, but despite this, he still has friends. He still cares about them and wants to know how their lives are going today. The merchant immediately remembered Kanata and assured that he would entrust his subordinates to figure everything out. He added, if the hero made such a request, he would definitely do it as best as possible. The boy was a little embarrassed but sincerely thanked the man. The young man, thinking, asks the man why he treats him so well, since there is no benefit from it. The man looks at him in surprise and does not understand what he is talking about. He believes that Kanata is a true hero, whom the world has not seen for hundreds of years. Hearing this is very strange for the boy himself. The merchant decided to be frank and admitted, in reality, no one wants the heroes to defeat the Dark Lord. Kanata was stunned to hear this. The war with him has long become part of a large economic machine. If the Dark Lord suddenly disappears, countries that sell resources for the battle or send mercenaries will lose jobs and income. This will lead to a global crisis, and millions of people will be left without means of subsistence. This number was significantly greater than the number of victims who died from monsters. The hero wondered, is Grandale refusing to help other countries in order to remain the main power in the world? Xeris claims that overcoming the global food crisis is very easy, but for this, the presence of this boy is absolutely necessary. After all, he is capable of creating any resources in unlimited quantities simply out of thin air. That is why the merchant is confident that Kana is the true embodiment of the goddess Astia. Suddenly the hero's face unexpectedly changes. He asks the merchant once again why he thinks the boy is capable of endlessly producing goods and products. He was surprised where Xeris got such information, since he only trusted Teeny about the properties of his shop. The man says that he often visits this store, even entrusted his people to watch it around the clock, but never once saw anyone bringing any goods there. And the store building itself appeared here very strangely, explained Zarl. Kanata already understands that he has done something wrong. The merchant enthusiastically shares that he finally understood everything. All things will be produced right on the spot. The boy is surprised by this discovery. Although he considered himself quite clever, he had no idea about this. Now it is clear to him. It is better not to quarrel with these people. The hero asked Zarella not to disclose his commercial secret. She agreed and promised not to ask any more questions. For him, this guy is actually a valuable partner. This is more important than any monster hunting, so he sincerely wants to maintain good relations with him. Kanata also sincerely values his partner. Zero comes out of the store and says that today he will definitely find out all the news about Grandale, and then tell everyone everything. The guys say goodbye to each other. Canada is sitting at the computer and quickly typing something on the keyboard. Suddenly he hears some strange noise and gets distracted. By the emergency exit, some movement started outside. The guy got nervous because the locals probably could not have known about this place. In his thoughts, he goes through all possible unpleasant scenarios. He is nervous because he fears that Tina's father might have hired a hitman to find him. Suddenly, a stranger's voice sounds behind the door. He calls Mr. Kanata and speaks as if he knows him personally. The main character tenses up, not believing his ears. He opens the door and immediately recognizes the voice, the very one he had already doubted. A girl named Tina happily runs up to the guy and hugs him. She is happy to meet Mr. Canada because she had long dreamed of meeting him. They are very happy to see each other because they missed each other a lot during the separation. The meeting brings them joy and a desire to live. The girl is still standing in the corridor. She cannot bring herself to go further. The boy wonders if the girl has fallen in love with him. He also remembers his cat Mimi, who was very affectionate to him and always stayed close. The boy stands confused in a long embrace and thinks about how to end it as soon as possible. He pushes Tina away and she breaks free. Kanata sincerely rejoices at meeting him and immediately invites the girl to come to the house. She gladly accepts the invitation. He asks the girl how she managed to find him in such a big city. The girl says she heard from an acquaintance woman that the boy went out of town, and rumors about his popular store are already spreading. She understood everything immediately. The girl wanted to visit the boy earlier, but she was not allowed to leave the house. Kanata is sad and admits that he must apologize because he did not warn the girl that he was expelled from Grandel. Tina just calmly looked at the boy, and it was completely natural. She assured him that there was no need to apologize, and the boy was momentarily confused, not expecting such words. The girl considers this company true heroes, and still cannot believe that Grandel could make such a mistake by expelling them. She is sure. Now the people in Grandel deeply regret their action. Kanata was very surprised when he found out that Tina had actually been watching the store since noon. He had no idea about it because the girl had not told him anything about it. She watches with admiration as many people enter his store, and they all leave happy and smiling. At that moment she wonders, perhaps this is the true dream of every real hero. One cannot say that his store is useless just because it sells cheap things. That does not mean it is of no benefit to anyone. Tina denies and says that it is not true. She does not hide her faith in this guy, and claims that all the changes happened only thanks to his efforts. Tina believes that her abilities surpass everyone around. At this moment, Kanata recalls how Zaril also once said similar words, just like Tina now. She is the merchant's daughter, so she has been well versed in trade since childhood. The boy feels both shyness and joy at the same time. Tina gently takes the boy's hands, looks into his eyes, and says that he is a true hero to her. She reminds him that once he saved her, and for her he remained a true hero. The boy is a little shy of such attention and kind words. The girl boldly assumes that the boy feels worthless because he is unable to fight the monsters, but she is sure that this is complete nonsense. Even if the guy has no combat skills, he has great potential to save people hidden inside him. Tina reminds him that he should be proud of his abilities. Kanata was incredibly touched by the girl's support and sincerely thanked her. After her words, his heart became calmer, and he felt relieved in his soul. She tells the boy that, no matter how circumstances turn out, she will always stay by his side. Suddenly, the girl leans toward the boy to kiss him. He did not expect this, so he was genuinely confused and does not know how to react. He cannot understand at all what is happening now. Kanata pushes away the embarrassed girl, realizing that he is not yet ready for such serious changes in their relationship. The boy refuses confusedly, and this greatly frightened Tina. He hurriedly stood up and began to fidget nervously. He loudly said that it was time to return to work and open the store, as the customers had probably been waiting. Tina noticed that it sounded unnatural, and Kanta began to justify herself confusedly. About 2 months had passed since Tina returned. The Kanata store remains very popular, so the number of visitors is increasing even more. Tina sometimes helps the guy work in the store. The girl told the boy that there were not so many visitors anymore, so he could rest a little. The boy thanked her and took the boxes in his hands. He decided to rest a bit, and told Tina to call immediately if she felt unwell, or if anything happened. Tina just smiled in response and assured him there was no need to worry. She would handle everything. In the evening, when the store is already closing, Tina approaches Mr. Canada. She asks if she can help the boy in the store, and this arouses his suspicion. The girl has already informed her father that she is going to practice, so now she can stay here as long as needed. The boy is surprised that Tina will most likely live with him. She is happy because now they can be together, and the boy has finally realized what happened to him. Tina confidently promises to do everything in her power and asks him to trust her. Kanata, captivated by her sincere smile, realizes that Tina is the one he wants to protect. He ponders, maybe this girl is even more interesting than he initially thought. Moreover, he became curious whether all merchants are as friendly as Kaden and Zaril. Meanwhile, Tina watched his reaction with admiration. The boy agrees to take the girl as his assistant. She really understands many things well. Most importantly, he trusts her, and this gives him peace. Therefore, the boy asks that she also be able to trust him. Tina thanked the boy and reassured him, saying that she already knows everything about him, so he should not worry. However, Canada interrupted her and explained that he was not talking about the store, but about himself. But he does not let her finish, and again asks what exactly she meant when she said she knew everything. Tina replies that sometimes the boy calls her Nochka. He finds it very cute, especially when he remembers her birthmark on her back and notices various small details. The boy, surprised, drops to his knees and begins to beg her forgiveness, but the girl confusedly asks him not to apologize. The store, as before, attracts many visitors. Business goes smoothly and without problems. For this, Canada is sincerely grateful to Tina. Now he can calmly eat and rest. In this world, he no longer feels lonely. His life has become so bright and meaningful that his soul is calm and joyful. In the evening, the boy tells Tina that it is already late and she should go to rest. But the girl does not plan to rest. She sits at the computer and advises the boy to take a break while she quickly enters today's profit into the database. The boy smiles a little awkwardly, because now little can surprise him, except Tina's skill. He thinks that if she had access to the internet, she would quickly understand how to promote their store using websites and advertising. Some time passed. The girl finished her work, glanced at the boy, turned off the light, and approached his bed. She carefully sat on the edge of his bed and looked attentively at the boy who was sleeping peacefully. The boy suddenly wakes up frightened and accidentally knocks the grill to the floor from his bed. Tina quietly clicks her tongue, sighs, and says that this time nothing worked again. Kenneth watches her attentively. Tina lies down in bed and calmly wishes the boy good night. And he hides his face in his hands, thinking that if he allows himself too much, he will not be able to turn everything back. It is so hard for him to cope with the strong desire. The boy wished her a peaceful night and left, and the girl fell asleep thinking that she would not give up and would definitely try again tomorrow. That is how their time passed. During the day the boy worked in the store, and in the evening he and Tina often argued. One day the boy heard a strange sound and suddenly realized that his level had increased. This surprised him greatly because he never understood what he had actually done for it. At that moment, Kanat realized that only he could hear the sound of the rising level. Without wasting a minute, he hurried away, calling to Tina that he would return to his office for a while. The hero wondered why something incomprehensible had happened, since he had neither quarreled with anyone nor defended himself. Nevertheless, he decided to carefully check his status to make sure there was no mistake in the system. The guy really managed to raise his level, and for this he didn't even have to fight anyone. It was enough just to manage the store, and it turned out to be an even better option. Now he had new goods, a security system with a drone for reconnaissance, and many other useful things. New icons appeared on his desktop. He is in no hurry to check what they are, as he assumes the store might have added some devices specifically for this world. It is difficult for him to immediately determine their purpose, so he decides not to open them unless necessary. The boy comes across a reconnaissance drone but hesitates to use it, as he is not sure about its safety. He hopes that nothing bad will happen, so he decides to try to start it. Kanata notices on the video from the camera a drone that seems to take off right from the roof of the store. The drone instantly flew into the sky, and the boy was surprised because he did not imagine that the device could rise so high. He was impressed by the new device, and he was surprised when he saw how the drone noticed a person sleeping on the roof of his store. Suddenly he notices a stranger who is calmly sleeping on the roof, and this shocks him greatly. Enlarging the image, he looks confusedly, trying to make out the body lying in that place. He rushes swiftly and climbs onto the roof to find out why the one who was supposed to be in Grand Ale ended up here. Canada, angry, climbs onto the roof and shouts at the girl. She is confused and startled by the unexpected voice. The boy recognizes the girl. It turns out to be Tamaki. She greets him warmly. The clumsy girl wanted to say something, but suddenly lost her balance and fell, hitting her face on the hard floor. Tamaki angrily shouts at the boy for scaring her and warns, if bruises appear on her delicate skin, it will be entirely his fault. Kanata in turn asks the girl what she is doing here. The girl quickly runs up to him and confesses that she came specifically for him. Kanata was confused upon hearing the girl's words. Zarel approaches another merchant and asks if it is really so. He nods and says that everything is indeed true. The worried man looks up at the starry night sky. Suddenly, a loud roar comes from the mountains. From that point, a giant monster appears and begins to hiss threateningly. Kanata asked the girl how she ended up here. Tamaki explained that during hero training she raised her level. She discovered new skills to find and track, so she ran away from the city and came exactly here. The boy was surprised at how the girl managed to pass through this forest, as there was danger everywhere and many monsters. Tamaki used her special assassin skill, the ability to become invisible. She was so good at disappearing from sight that even monsters could not find her during the chase. The boy stopped and pondered. The girl began to worry, hoping that the boy would be surprised and happy. But he just stood silently, thinking about how he managed to see two of her unusual abilities at once, although he himself only knew how to invent new recipes for wine. Kanata admits that it does not matter much to him. He is much more interested in something else. Tamaki shyly admits that she really ran away from training. The girl is upset that the training is getting harder every day, and she finds it difficult to keep up with everything. The boy asked in surprise if she really thinks that this is enough to defeat the Black Demon Lord. She was not upset at all and is almost sure that the elite group has already gathered around Kuramochi-kun, so they will easily manage without her help. Kanata asks everyone how they are doing, and inquires if everything is okay with the girl. However, she answers him briefly and without much desire to talk. She said that everyone in the third team was very worried about that boy. Many were supported by the nearby shop, but when it left, some even shut themselves off. Everyone thought that what Kuramochi said happened. The boy was kicked out of the team because of his own mistakes, although he angrily said that the first team players did not accept him from the start. Kanata's best friend still worried about him. The girl asked the hero if he remembered Esagiri Raiku. However, he could barely recall anything about her. Tamaki tells him that the girl disappeared almost simultaneously with the boy leaving the city. It seems Minazuki accidentally ran into her near the very gates. She talked to him and confessed. After Aki, Nosuken, whom she had been watching for a long time, finally left the city, she had nothing left to hold her here. From now on, she decided to travel alone. She asked Nazuki and Kwan to take care of themselves and sincerely wished them luck. The boy was surprised to learn that the girl had been watching him all along. He asked why she did so, but even Tamaki herself could not explain it. Then she wondered if she could have run after him, to which the boy honestly admitted that he did not notice her. The boy wonders if everything is all right that someone from group number 13 left alone, without the others. Tamaki reassures him and explains that Rakia-chan possesses the ability of Po. But she still does not understand what her power is. Kanata wondered if the girl should use her abilities and try to find her. The girl only sighs and shrugs, because without the person she was looking for, she can do nothing. And that person took all the necessary things with them. In this situation, the boy decides to turn to a merchant trusted in the city. Maybe he knows something about them, or about Jerry. The girl sincerely thanks Kanata. She sincerely rejoices that he cares about Raichahan and thanks him once again for it. For the boy, these were ordinary, simple thoughts, quite obvious to him. He sincerely wished that all his classmates would stay alive. He wanted them to return home together. The girl sincerely rejoices at this and smiles at the boy with understanding. She firmly believes that each of them must return home alive and unharmed. The boy thinks that the girl will not manage her skill of searching if she does not know what to look for. He decides to help her and gives a hint. The girl waves her hands confusedly and begins to shout awkwardly, while the boy just stands and does not know what to do. In Tamaki's bag there was already a keychain with a cat, a secret gift from the boy. She was glad that he did not notice it. She reaches for her keychain, but Kanata does not notice this. Tina runs into the room and anxiously informs the hero that there are almost no sandwiches left. She notices Tomaki, apologizes confusedly for disturbing him. Tomaki only shouts back fearfully. She eagerly asks who the cute girl standing nearby is. The boy is a little confused and answers that they are meeting for the first time. Kanata points to the girl and says that she is his hired employee. During the day they work together in the store, and in the evening they live together and support each other. The girl is called Tina, and admits that she is a bit clumsy. Tamaki exclaims joyfully. She understood that Tina is an ordinary employee, and had no idea that the boy might lack helpers. She raises her voice again and persistently asks to be hired. Since she started working here, the help has increased, and now, as it seems to her, 2 people are quite enough for the job. She looks attentively at Kanata, as if hoping he will support her words. However, the boy only looks at her in surprise and notes that thanks to Tina, everything has indeed become much easier. But there are still not enough people for the work. Hearing this, Tina became sad, but Tomaki, on the contrary, was happy. Tina covers her face with her hands, full of disappointment. The boy approaches her and tries to comfort her, saying that Tomaki can really be loud, selfish, careless, just like her grandfather, but deep down she is not so bad at all. The boy recalls and tells Tomaki that his store has become much better and has grown to a new level. They led her to the store, and the girl was surprised when she saw how much is sold here. Tamaki happily notices that there are many different sandwiches, rice balls, and all kinds of drinks presented here. The assortment of sweets is also impressive. There is even pudding and melon bread. Kanata remembers that he used to have only 3 different dishes, and feels proud of the changes. The girl admits that she dreams of staying here forever. She runs up to the boy, hugs him tightly, and joyfully says that he is the best. She bustles around the store, looks at everything with admiration, and is already looking for cola, which tastes so good with French fries. Meanwhile, Kanata admires her and smiles to himself. She always gladly takes on new tricks in jumping, especially if there are plenty of tasty treats around. Tina laughed and covered her mouth with her hand. She told the boy that Tamaki-san is very funny. Kanata agreed with her. Despite her eccentricity, this girl always cares about her classmates, including him. The boy hopes that she will treat him warmly. Tina smiles and sincerely apologizes to Kanata for her rudeness towards his best friend. She adds that it is a great honor for her to meet heroes who came from another world. Tamaki decided that from the next day she would work hard to become reliable for others. Tamaki says that she is already tired and asks to take a break. Kanata asks in surprise how she got tired so quickly. When it became clear that there were no visitors, everyone together decided to take a little break. The boy noticed that there were significantly fewer people in the store today than usual. Tina was already about to close the door, but noticed that one customer was still outside. Kanata was surprised when he saw that the district leader Sochi Melty was already waiting for him by the door. Although she is called the head of the district, in reality there are no clear boundaries here. She is an elder and often gathers residents for meetings. This woman admits that she really likes this French fries. Everyone around sincerely treats kind and friendly Sochi. Outside this city she is well known as the head of the district and a mother to everyone. She expresses her gratitude to the heroes for the warm welcome, and Kanata sincerely thanks her for the care and support he received when he just joined them. The woman thinks that Kanata has become a very important person for the whole neighborhood, and they should be grateful to him for this. Therefore, the girl turned to the boy with a request: introduce her to his co-workers. Tamaki approaches the woman and introduces himself as a hero from another world, just as Kanata did. He sincerely says that he is glad to meet her. She smiles and says that it is a great honor for them to host 2 heroes in the outer district. Tina also approaches the same woman and sincerely thanks her for taking such good care of them. Kanata cannot understand whether Tina is worried because she is from the center, so he simply tells her that she looks like a real angel. She had long been told about the friendly young girl who works here, and she was sincerely happy when she finally met the very one about whom so many good things were said. The girl shines with happiness, tears of joy in her eyes, and she sincerely thanks. She is happy that fate gave her this meeting. Kanata is glad that Sochi and Tina have become friends. The boy thanked the district head for the visit and asked if some important matter had brought her here. She places her hand on her heart and admits that she actually came here to tell him something important. It really hurts her to admit it, but she wishes that this boy would leave both the store and this place right now. Suddenly, Zor-El appeared before everyone, and he immediately confirmed everything the woman had said. Such an unexpected intrusion by the merchant frightened everyone except Sochi. People didn't even have time to ask how he managed to appear here. He says that they were communicating so deeply that they didn't pay attention to him, and he calmly entered the room. He praised Tina and the leader, then noticed Tamaki and realized that suddenly even more charming and attractive girls were around him. She tells Zeril that he appeared very timely. She had just been talking with Akino-san. The merchant apologizes for interrupting and invites them to return to the conversation. To avoid misunderstandings, the woman explains, this is done primarily for the safety of Akina's son and the protection of the shop. The man looks at the woman in surprise and asks again what she just said. She explains that these lands have long been inhabited by an ancient earth dragon. He settled here even before the current demon ruler created his monsters. Most of the time, the dragon spends dozing high in the mountains, but once every 4 years he wakes up and descends, searching for food. Kanata was gripped by genuine horror. He screamed in fear and couldn't understand why he was told about this only several months after he ended up in the outer zone. Zeril just blushed and shyly scratched the back of his head, convinced that Kanata already knew everything. He explains that the high wall in the city was built for a reason. It is meant to protect the inhabitants from the terrible earth dragon. The boy thinks, perhaps it is because of this danger that everyone who just arrived is advised to settle outside the city. Kanata wondered, what if this earth dragoness named KDS attacks? How would the people living beyond the wall react then? Safety alone is no longer enough for her. Kirill explains that most people are usually temporarily evacuated, but even after that, many still have problems with money and health. Those who never manage to leave eventually become victims of circumstances. Kanata cannot understand why the city residents are unable to help them. Perhaps there are several knights outside the city walls. There is also enough security there. If it were known exactly when the attack would happen, wouldn't it be possible to simply hide all the city residents behind the walls during the attack? Tina said that it's good that at least things turned out this way. The city gates are tightly closed, and everyone is preparing for defense. People from the outer districts can no longer be saved. Kanata is pondering what all this might mean. Tina sadly says that people say, after the last cadets passed through, the outer district became almost destroyed. However, all the residents remain safe and unharmed. She cannot recall the details of what happened there. She apologizes, sincerely saying that she is very sorry. Kanata gently places her hand on hers, supporting her with a caring gesture. Tina and Kanata exchanged glances, and it became clear. It was time to return to the previous topic of conversation. She sighs and agrees, adding that news has already arrived. Cadus has awakened and is now moving towards them. By order of Zaril and his subordinates, people have begun to be evacuated beyond the outer wall. Kanata understood why so few people came today. The chief reported that Cadus might appear here as early as this evening. He apologizes for everything happening so unexpectedly. People in this place have always lived poorly and barely managed to provide for themselves. But over time, a store appeared in the settlement, and life became better. Now everyone smiles more often. The woman thanks the hero for opening a store near their home. Zeril also says that everyone wishes the heroes only good, and hopes that everything will be fine with them. When Cadus leaves to bring them back here, the merchant is just finishing his conversation. Tamaki addressed Kanadi, but the boy asks her not to look so sad. He would gladly promise it if he could, but now their opponent is the main monster in the game. Remembering the townspeople, the hero makes his choice. Now Tina holds Kanata's hand and encourages her. He turns to Tina, who is sitting beside him. They catch each other's gaze, and Kanota nods affirmatively, agreeing. He gladly shares with everyone the news that he has already made a decision. Zaril sincerely rejoices upon hearing this. Zaril says that he will now give the order to his people to quickly take them to a safe place. After all, if they go on their own. But Kanata suddenly interrupts him. With his characteristic confidence, he says that he is the hero of this store, and intends to defeat this earthly dragon. The boy's words stunned everyone present. Only Tina remained calm. Tamaki retells the boy's words that he became a hero and defeated Cadiz. They loudly shout at the hero, making it clear that his words made no impression on them. Kanata is worried and tightly grips the back of the chair, as he did not expect to hear such a refusal in response to his words. The boy ignores all objections and persistently asks the man what exactly the cadices look like and what their features are. The merchant only confusedly grabs his head, not understanding how one can plan to defeat a dragon knowing nothing about it. Yet he is called a muscular and mighty dragon. He can withstand both magical attacks and sword strikes, which is why he was named Cadis, as a reminder of danger. His skin is covered with thick shields and hard scales, so even experienced warriors do not understand how to defeat him. The boy realizes that this dragon is not as simple as it seems. He has protection against everything, and this makes the boy think. Tamaki began to get nervous because although they are heroes, she is not sure they are capable of changing anything. Tina turns to the boy with a question, asking if he has any idea how to proceed. The young man already has one idea but has not yet tested it, so he does not know if it will work. Canada is grateful to the residents of the district near the outer wall for accepting him and giving him the opportunity to find his place. However, for this dream to come true, he still needs your support. The hero understands that the risks are great, but he appeals to everyone present with a request to support him. Tina immediately defends the boy and states that she always supports those she cares about, so she fully trusts him. She says with a smile that she will gladly help Kanata. They meet eyes for a moment, and both feel a little shy. Tamaki loudly shouts out, offering her help to the boy. She believes in him and reminds that she promised to protect him. She explained that she has been friends with Canada for many years, so she simply has no other choice. She also asks for help, but having no special strength can only take care of the wounded. Kanata sincerely smiles and thanks everyone for their support. Zeril is worried and does not know at all what to do next. The boy worries that because of them everything might go awry. But Kenot only smiles and assures, if the merchant supports them, then the boy will also support the merchant. Zeril does not stop insisting that the boy tell him his secret plan to destroy Cadiz. Night has come. All preparations for the meeting with the dragon are already completed. Only the lanterns remain to be lit in turn. The young man thanks everyone for their help and asks to evacuate those who have already completed their tasks. The people below agree and promise to do so. The hero stands, bowing his head, and sinks into deep thought. Tamaki watches the drone and waits for the command from the store to start controlling it. Thanks to the support of friends, they have already prepared everything. Now everything will be decided. Will the main hero be able to defeat the dragon? So far, he has managed to cope with everything. But now he faces the task of meeting in battle with a mighty dragon. Seeing this beast so close for the first time, the boy feels anxiety. Will he be able to win? If he fails, danger threatens everyone around. Tina quietly approaches the man who looks tense and asks if he is okay. Konata confesses to the girl that he is actually very scared right now. Tina encourages the hero and says that with his help, they will succeed. Kanata is surprised by her confidence and wonders how he could also learn to believe in himself like that. Tina wanted to share special words with Kanata. When she said them, Kanata was very surprised. She tells him that even if he makes a mistake and the whole world turns against him or hates him, she will still stay by his side. She will always stay by his side, so the boy should not be afraid to make mistakes. For Tina, it does not matter what kind of person Kanata is, whether he is kind, brave, or very timid at all. She will always be there, support and protect him no matter what happens. Kanata looks at Tina in surprise. She shyly smiles and asks if he feels better after her words. The girl sincerely supported the boy, and it gave him strength and confidence. He thanked her, saying that it was a real miracle for him. Tina shines with happiness and smiles at the boy, but suddenly a loud roar pierced the distance, joined by the anxious cries of people. Cadiz came to the mountains and stayed there to live. The heroes are stunned as they look at the giant dragon that appeared from underground. Kanata urges Tamaki to take control of the dragon quickly using the drone. The girl instantly focuses and starts energetically clicking the computer mouse. The drone rushes towards the huge dragon. Kanata is even more worried because Cadis turned out to be much bigger than he imagined. Tamaki jumps out of the hatch with a smile and happily says that the dragon chased after the drone. She hopes to be praised for this. The girl states that they are ready to accept the challenge, although she admits that the dragon is really very big, and she is so scared that her legs are trembling. Tina tries to encourage her friend and assures her that everything will end well. The boy speaks uncertainly, and it seems to make Tamaki a little wary. Kanata thinks the journal should be not much smaller than the giant monster. He hopes it will withstand the impact. The dragon flies rapidly towards the store. The heroes firmly grab the rope, and Kanata commands everyone to be ready for the collision. Cadis crashes into the building at full speed. Suddenly, there is a dull thud. The guys tightly clutch the journal in their hands, trying not to give it to anyone. Kanata stood up and looked around the team to make sure everyone was intact. They managed to overcome this stage, but it is still not over. They grab fire extinguishers and move on. 3 heroes gathered their courage and firmly decided to act. They hurriedly rushed to the dragon, tightly clutching fire extinguishers in their hands. The boy orders them to aim their weapons directly ahead. The dragon notices the heroes, and fear grips their hearts. The dragon covers its eyes, trying to protect them. Its scales are very strong on the outside, but inside it remains vulnerable and tender. The boy bravely looks Cadis straight in the eyes and lips, trying to find the courage to mock her. The girl feels fear and dreams of being with her parents, but despite this, she resolutely steps forward, preparing for the confrontation. The man deliberately opened a store in this place to distract Cadis. The building itself was constructed as a defense. It was meant to stop the attack and save the city from destruction. They aimed to prevent Cadis from passing and force him to retreat, so they could then prepare a new attack. Kanata boldly throws fire extinguishers at the dragon, and gradually it weakens. He takes a fire extinguisher and stuffs it into his mouth, causing Tamaki to be gripped by true horror. The dragon still does not retreat, and the man begins to worry. He desperately wanted to distract the monster from the store even for a minute. The boy turned to the girl, intending to ask her for a fire extinguisher, but suddenly saw that the girl had already disappeared. The boy anxiously looks around for the girl, but only Tina stands beside him. He addresses the girl with a question about where Tamaki is, and unexpectedly notices a ruined wall next to the building. Kanata is terribly worried when imagining that the girl might fall. Suddenly the dragon growled and released fire extinguishers right towards the hero. She screams in fear and calls for Tamaki's help. Suddenly an unknown creature appears nearby and attacks, unexpectedly catching the dark-haired boy off guard. Suddenly a spear flies into the creature's head and pierces it through. The main hero witnesses this, but cannot understand who exactly threw the weapon. Behind him, someone starts mocking and blames the girl for everything. The main hero immediately guessed that it was probably Tamaki, sharply turned around, but still could not see exactly where she was hiding. The girl told how she used her assassin skills, and with the help of a spear knocked out the eyes of the earth dragon. The boy realized that because of her abilities he could not find her, and mentally admitted that she had really made him worry. Meanwhile, the girl standing behind rejoices that Tamaki is okay. Tamaki from the void declares that she is one of the heroes. For her, it was very easy. The main hero praises the girl, but suddenly another girl appears behind him and claims that she is actually Tamaki. Suddenly, the dragon forcefully clamps 2 cylinders in its jaws. They begin to crack, and from pain or anger, the beast growls loudly. The hero sees the dragon heading to the store and thinks that it is even good that this happened right now. Before the dragon manages to break in here, both girls better quickly leave this place and head to the city. One of the girls agrees and starts descending down the rope to move away. Tamaki turns to the boy and says that now she counts on him. The other girl asks to be careful. The main hero smiles and replies that everything will be fine, and that they should not worry but rely on him. The main hero also went down and bravely stopped right in front of the dragon, ready to fight. The dragon roared loudly and released thick smoke from its mouth. The young man looks carefully at the opponent and understands. He needs to outsmart the enemy by luring him as far away as possible. The dragon flies up to the building, and the main character asks to get even closer. At the moment the dragon tears off a piece of the store, the boy seizes the opportunity and commands the store to disappear. Suddenly the building the dragon was attacking unexpectedly dissolves into thin air, and the dragon's eyes widen in surprise. The main character is happy because everything turned out for the best. The dragon fell into the very same pit left by the destroyed store. The boy understands that all the traps really managed to stop Cadiz. He recalls how the day before they were informed that all preparations were complete, and they could begin. Now the huge dragon lies powerless at the bottom of the pit. The main character noticed that as soon as he thought about something, a store immediately appeared nearby. But each time everything around slightly trembled. A cloud of dust rose because there was a gap between the store and the ground into which one could easily fall. He wonders what will happen if he tries to do it right in the air. Earlier, it seemed almost impossible to use the technique that requires different heights, but now the circumstances are perfect. The man notices the rope twitch and immediately understands. This is the sign. At his signal, everyone simultaneously grabs the rope and pulls, lifting the main character upward, as if on a real elevator. The main character jumps straight from the elevator onto the dragon with momentum. Shouting loudly, he challenges the monster. Let it try to swallow him. His gaze becomes angry and determined. He does not take his eyes off his enemy. The main character shouts, "Store!" Suddenly, a whole building appears right above the dragon and falls on its head with a loud crash. The dragon looks up in confusion. watching as the building covers it. At that very moment, the store falls right on the dragon, and the main hero is still hanging in the air. The dragon roars loudly, coughing up blood while the main hero gently descends to the ground. Everyone around watches the events in awe and eagerly discusses what they have seen. Previously, neither swords nor magic could defeat it, but this attack yielded results. It seems to have a terrifying power capable of destroying everything in its path. The man confidently says that this dragon is very ancient, and its name suits it perfectly. The main hero, with a serious expression, notices that even after a strong blow, the dragon does not give up and tries to get up. The beast slowly raises the front part of its body and growls angrily, while the boy lies right in front of its nose. The main hero quickly jumps to his feet and rushes to the elevator, realizing that all this was predictable. A true ancient dragon has appeared before him, and it is not so easy to defeat it with a single strike. The elevator bell takes the boy upward. He stands, focused, looking straight ahead, and decides to change his approach. The man asks everyone to keep their distance, holding a rope in his hand. At this moment, the main hero rises into the air and orders the store to disappear. The main hero jumps down and reopens the store, finally deciding to defeat the dragon. He understands that now is the moment to act, so he boldly gets to work. The main hero, with firm determination, decides to fight the dragon to the very end until he completely defeats it. For this purpose, he returns to the store again, using its endless possibilities, and with renewed strength continues to attack the dragon. The dragon roars fiercely, then suddenly falls face down right onto the ground. The boy lands nearby, breathing heavily and trying to recover his strength after the battle with the fallen dragon. The main hero wonders if he managed to overcome the dragon. Suddenly, right in front of him appears the monster's paw with sharp claws, almost touching the boy. He reacts instantly, steps back, and carefully looks at the dragon, which is barely holding on to life. He realizes that if he loses vigilance even for a moment, Cadis will immediately break free and threaten everyone around with disaster. The dragon lightly moves its paw. The main hero breathes heavily, barely dragging his feet. Suddenly, a thought strikes him. Everything blurs before his eyes, and the boy wonders. Maybe he has no magic left at all? Or perhaps magical powers are not necessary at all to use the store. He is angry and thinks that maybe he just lacks movement. The boy really looks very exhausted. People standing above watch with surprise as the main character suddenly stumbles and begins to fall down. He falls, turns to the boys, and two girls joyfully shout Kanata's name. The main character mentally apologizes to them and loses consciousness. The main character recalls how everything around was destroyed, and next to his mother sat a very small boy. He begged her with tears to wake up, but she could no longer respond to his words. The main character suddenly became nervous, and at that moment someone addressed him, which greatly surprised him. Kanana notices two girls who are worried about the boy. He recognizes them as Tamaki and Tina. Tina asks the boy what happened to Cadis. Kanata tries to stand up sharply, but his strength fails him. Tamaki quickly stops him, advising not to get up so suddenly and reminds him that he needs to rest. Tina placed her hand on the boy's shoulder, trying to get his attention. She softly said that he succeeded. The boy looked at the fallen dragon, which lay motionless below in the pit. The girl, barely holding back tears, said that this was a real miracle. People rejoiced and shouted loudly upon learning that George defeated the dragon from Cadis. Everyone immediately began to celebrate, raising their hands up. The two girls suddenly rushed to the boy and hugged him tightly. They were happy that everything worked out and the story ended well. The sun shone dazzlingly in the sky. Finally, the moment came when all the difficulties near the outer wall were left behind, and people on top of it celebrated the long-awaited victory. The main character lifts his head and smiles, because now he definitely knows the ancient earth dragon Cadis is defeated. Several days passed after the main character's victory over Cadis. The whole city celebrated, joy prevailed everywhere, and Kadena sincerely rejoiced at this victory. The streets fluttered with bright flags, creating a festive atmosphere. All the residents are now at the celebration, both those who live in the city and those who live nearby. Everyone has come out of their homes to chat together, raise their glasses, and greet each other. However, the main character was very tired and was lying in bed. He spent several nights sleeping right in his 24-hour store, and the t-shirts only started appearing on the 4th level. The main character remembered another unpleasant thing. Tears appeared in his eyes because he suddenly realized, for some reason, his level had not increased. Even after the victory over Cadiz, he remained at level 24. He asks if the whole matter is that he killed him in the store, although he had thought about it before. But even during regular work, his level still increased. The main character gives a tour of his shop, where hands, wings, legs, and various weapons lie on the shelves. He looks to the future with hope, hoping that soon he will have more opportunities to resist enemies. The girl happily shows the main character how much they earned in the city and says that now they can arrange a good life for themselves. Another girl approaches the boy and suggests he eat more to become stronger. The main character dreams about how interesting it would be to receive a title from the saddest category, when suddenly a girl hits him in the face with bread. He is offered to try something to eat, but another girl suddenly stops him and asks him not to do it. A few days passed, and the main character finally went to work. One man greeted him with a smile and said that thanks to his help he was able to earn well. He sincerely thanked the boy for this. The man says that the store is still operating successfully. He offers his help and takes the box from the boy. People around are happy, greet the man, and call him a hero, glad that he has returned. The boy sincerely thanks the man for the support. He notices how everyone around is joyful and cheerful. His heart fills with gratitude for all the support he received from them, and he sincerely wishes to repay them. One of the men, looking at the boy in surprise, asks if he really has serious intentions. The man loudly demands that the main character give him all of Cadiz. The main character agrees in surprise and says he can take it if he desires it so much. The man with a smile calls the boy the best and warmly hugs him. Then he orders everyone to return to work. They decide to sell everything they got from the cunning aristocrats and will set very high prices for these things. The main character understands that this is a true entrepreneurial approach. It was precisely because of this that their leader organized a wonderful celebration for them. The main character recalls how delicious everything was then, and thinks about how much he liked everything at that time. Those were truly wonderful times. The boy was called, and he, looking around in surprise, wondered what had happened this time. A plump man approached him and respectfully called him a hero of the round-the-clock Mozin, saying it was a great honor for him to meet such a boy. Next to this man stood another one, in glasses. The girl, surprised, recognized the man as her father, and thought confusedly that Donetz was here too. The man hopes that his disobedient daughter will not cause problems in his affairs. The main character notes with surprise that Tina, on the contrary, always supports him. The man asks in astonishment if this is really true. He tells his daughter that she is lucky to have a father like him. The main heroine is amazed and cannot believe that this man is really her dad. The man asks indignantly if this is her gratitude for everything he has done for her. A man addresses a boy and asks how he feels about the idea of becoming his daughter's husband. The girl and the main character look at each other confused, surprised by the question, when suddenly a loud shout is heard from behind. Someone strongly objects to this. The girl returns to her father and tells him that because of his behavior they might lose clients, which will negatively affect their business. Meanwhile, another girl behind asks the main character if he is really Tina's father, and he confirms it. Some time passed, and the girl with a guilty look apologized for the inconvenience her father caused. The boy just smiled in response and reassured her, saying that nothing serious happened. He was just a little surprised. The girl asked Tina if she had not returned home for a long time and added that her father was probably very worried. At that moment, the main heroine thought to herself that Tamaki really did not realize who he truly was. The main character hesitates whether he really cares about his daughter. During the previous visit, he hoped to sort out his own feelings to confidently manage the store. Tina is sure that this actually has no direct relation to her. Unexpectedly, she reveals that there are as many as 46 children in her family, and she herself holds the 23rd place among brothers and sisters. The main character from Tamaki is so impressed by this news that they accidentally spray drinks from their mouth. Tamaki is shocked to note that her family has even more children than students in their class. Now that's a truly aristocratic family. The man says that they can still talk about what happened, as the main character asked. He tells Canada that probably all the cities near Kadena and even in neighboring countries have already heard how the hero from the store defeated Cadiz. However, if this news reaches Grandale, he believes that these people are truly capable of something great. The main character, with a determined look, confidently asserts that they will definitely succeed. Moreover, recently, the heroes of the Kingdom of Grandale have begun to appear openly before everyone for the first time. It appears that the squad of 4 people, chosen by the main hero and led by the Immortal, managed to capture the Eastern Cave, where there were many goblins. Kanata wonders if something is finally starting to change, since the first training battle is already behind. Then the man continues to tell. One swordsman single-handedly defeated all the swamp lizards that were in the southeast. The main hero and Tina are amazed at how he managed to handle it alone. The man says that lizards are actually very strong and can become a great threat. People also gossip that the sword-wielding hero has every chance to defeat the Dark Lord. Tamaki smiles and asks if they are talking about the hero swordsman Shiori. He thinks it's wonderful. The main hero recognizes this name. She joined the gaming club where she demonstrated her knowledge of first-person shooters. He noticed that the girl usually kept to herself and did not like to participate in team games. In everyday life, she was also used to being alone. The man wonders when finally the fame of the kingdom hero's bravery will spread to other countries. But if everyone around finds out that he managed to defeat the legendary dragon, before whom even the bravest kept their distance, now everyone will look only at him. For Grandale, this is not just an inconvenience but a real trouble, and it's useless to ask him what could be funny about it. At first the main character is silent, then turns to Zariel with a request. Zariel replies that he is ready to help and will do everything he says. Evening came. A group of horsemen gathered on a high cliff, watching ahead attentively. A drone flies overhead. The main character watches this scene through a computer and realizes that the horsemen arrived much earlier than he expected. The main character recalled how he used the new information and, together with Zero, gave Grandale the location of the hero from the store. Now he is on the outskirts of the city, where he is asked if he intends to leave this place. Tamaki asks with interest why this is so. The boy admits that he feels very good here and would not want to leave this place, but he is being sought. If the pursuers from Grandale find him here, the whole city will be in danger. The main character does not want to involve the residents in his troubles, especially now that the threat of a caddis attack is behind. People listen attentively to the boy, catching every word. Tamaki sadly says that she is sorry because she became so good friends with everyone. The boy also agrees and looks unhappy. Now that the city gates have opened, more food will start arriving in the outskirts, so the gap between the rich and the poor will finally decrease. But he still plans to give away all the goods from the store to the people. And for the first time, this might actually be useful. Tina smiles and believes that the residents of the outer wall will sigh with relief upon receiving this aid. The main character says that when he leaves this place, Grandale will no longer need the city. However, he worries that someone might use the city's residents as hostages, which would cause great difficulties. But the man reassures him and asks him not to worry about it. He says that in case of danger, it will not be necessary to involve local residents. For this money, mercenaries from central regions can be easily hired. Then the city will be protected, and the man expresses his gratitude to him. The riders gallop and the girls cast anxious glances back. Canada understands. If he can hold off the pursuers and give Tina from Tamats a little time to reach the hill, even if there are many enemies, only he can handle this task. The main character watches a group of people near the store through a drone and notices that Mrs. Crusades and the heroes are not among them. He realizes there are no negotiations. These people appeared here only to deal with him. Suddenly, the hero sees several people in robes drawing magical circles on the ground, then starting to attack from them. He is stunned and cannot believe this is real magic. However, unlike what everyone expected, the magical projectiles, upon reaching the magazine, simply collide with a barrier and do not harm it at all. The knights do not hide their surprise at what happened. The main character realizes that there is little time and action must be taken quickly. The fiery blinds with magical protection perform their function perfectly. The knights are confused. It seems they were told about this shop even before its latest changes. One of the knights decisively thrusts his sword forward and urges everyone not to panic or linger. He says they must immediately get him out of this mysterious building. He gives the order to attack, and the crowd of knights rushes forward, directing the strike straight at the building, aiming to destroy it. The main character hears a loud knock on the door, and realizes that there are too many people at the threshold, and the smoke from the fire extinguisher is hardly enough to make an escape. He angrily recalls Grandale. At that very moment, he notices someone hooking a hook onto the roof ridge. Several knights climb onto the roof using ropes, and the main character wonders with surprise why so many people have gathered here because of him. One night, the main character notices that something is about to fall from the sky. He immediately understands. The situation is becoming extremely dangerous. The girls stand at the edge of the cliff and look forward with admiration. They worry about Kanata, anxious if he is okay. Tamaki is confident that nothing will happen to him since he defeated Kata himself. The main character again sees how the night quickly envelops the building and feels anxiety. This is definitely a bad sign. He tightly grips the fire extinguisher, preparing for anything. And then suddenly the system notifies that his convenience store worker level has increased. The boy happily realized that he learned something new from the knights, and it will definitely come in handy. A smile appeared on the main character's face. He raised his hand to check his skills and status. His status shows all the data about him. The only skill he has is level 5 in the store skill. Here are his characteristics. Endurance, 8. Strength, 8. Agility, 6. Magic, 0. Luck, 8. He has not mastered any spells or skills at a high level. His title is Legendary Slayer of Earth Dragons. At first, the hero was glad to notice that here you can find both lunchboxes and even a microwave. This is real luck. But suddenly his gaze stops on something strange, and he simply cannot believe his eyes. Canada sits at the computer and notices that he sees things rarely found in stores. He begins to suspect that this is some kind of mistake, as drones and machines with magical barriers look quite strange. The main character decides to get to work and focuses. He quickly clicks the mouse, selects the icon with 5 Gatling guns. The hero understands that now is not the time to doubt. This is a chance that must be used. Suddenly, a characteristic noise sounds on the roof of the building. 2 machine guns appear. The knights nearby watch them with surprise. These are 2 automatic Gatling guns, each designed for 5 shots, installed to protect the building from uninvited guests. The main character looks at all this with surprise and asks if it is really possible. After all, the Gatling, such a formidable weapon, is completely unsuitable for a world ruled by swords and magic. Where did such technology come from here? Also, the Impact machine gun is currently empty. Canada wonders if he understood the information correctly and decides to make sure. When the system asks if he wants to activate automatic mode, Canada agrees and clicks the button with the mouse. Suddenly, gunfire opens on the roof from machine guns, and within a few seconds they neutralize several knights. One of the horses is very frightened by the unexpected attack. After the attack, the knights fell to the ground. They remained alive but completely exhausted and groaning in pain. The main character smiles with relief, realizing that his power does not lead to death, so he can safely use it. Now he decides to look around, and suddenly something surprises him greatly. The main character notices on the computer an icon showing some variable function of the magazine rotation. He clicks on it and tries to figure out what it means. At night, while sitting on the roof, he notices some movements below. He wonders what happened there this time. Suddenly, the magazine begins to rotate, and the knights on the roof cannot hold on. They fall down. People around stand in shock, watching this unusual spectacle. Suddenly, one of their friends from the night watch screams and jumps off the roof, falling right in front of them. The main character smiles and admits that he thought nothing could surprise him anymore. But this situation seems funny to him. He laughs and wonders how the magazine can work in such a way. Then he smiles again and decides to start the machine gun once more, after which it begins to rotate. At night, the machine guns on the roof of the magazine opened fire again. People either tried to escape or immediately fell to the ground. The knights asked what kind of building this was, since they were not warned about such a thing, and now they do not know how to behave. The chief commander of the knights informed everyone that this task was entrusted to them by Lord Drake himself, the Prime Minister of Grandale. He emphasized that they should not even think about returning empty-handed. They must complete the mission and not succumb to fear. There is no point in thinking about who Drake is. The boy stands by the computer and thinks. While everyone is confused, he has a chance to escape. He quickly presses several buttons. Thanks to the online store, their escape plan might succeed, and he decides to try another idea. Kineda activates drones that have a special function. They spray smoke. Several drones instantly rise above the magazine and release a cloud of smoke right on the heads of the bandits. From the thick smoke, they begin to suffocate and cough heavily. The main character exits the building, notices smoke ahead, and immediately covers his mouth and nose with his hand to avoid inhaling it. He realizes that now is a perfect opportunity to escape. While the knights choke on the smoke, the hero quickly runs out and hides in the forest. Friends waited for the boy nearby and sincerely rejoiced when he finally appeared. Everyone called him a hero. The main character, exhausted, turns to Tomaki, advising her to move on without him. At that moment, a man throws a robe over the boy. Tomaki replies that she has already thought it through and realized. The boy cannot stay in the saddle, so he won't manage on his own. If necessary, she can even carefully proceed further unnoticed herself. The girl quickly jumps on the horse and urges the boy to hurry himself, but he complains that he can barely stand on his feet. At the same time, Zariel also urges them, calling not to waste time. The main character and Tamaki smile at the man, while Kanata thanks him wholeheartedly for his support. Zariel winks at the man, thanks him for the chance to earn well, and says that if they are lucky enough to stay alive, they will definitely meet again. The man wished them success, and the horse suddenly took off from the spot. Tamaki and Kanata were frightened by the sudden movements. The boy turned around, smiled in response, thanked them, and also asked to send greetings to everyone in the city. The girl anxiously watched the road ahead. The man lingers a little longer, watching them, and waves his hand in farewell. Next to him stands his white horse. A few hours before the legendary earthly dragon Caduce was destroyed in the kingdom of Grandale, it was daytime outside. In the great hall, the girl thanked the guest who had come from afar in the west. She smiled warmly and asked how she could help. The young man on his knees before her says that the Western Alliance faces an even greater danger due to the army of the Demon Lord. His name is Karl Gonsteiner. He is a messenger from Carterosa, one of the states within the Western Alliance. The boy says that they are all barely standing on their feet, and just recently they found out. Demons are not only real, they are intelligent and possess magic. The knights exchange glances among themselves when suddenly one of them coughs, and this stirs everyone up. All stand up. The girl smiles and assures that they will provide generous support to their country by sending both soldiers and all necessary supplies. She also promises that very soon 10,000 new warriors will arrive to the expeditionary force. Carlgan was surprised to hear this number and realized that the rumors about the greatness of this country were true. The girl promised to do her best to honorably fulfill the duties of a great state and fight together against the Demon King, but added that there was one important detail. The boy with a focused look asks the girl if the new heroes they summoned can help them in this situation. Next to the girl, someone says that, unfortunately, even heroes from another world are unable to stop the army of the Demon Lord. The blonde boy sat and with a smile on his face said that very soon they would be able to show everyone their true capabilities. The girl agrees, confirms his words, and asks to wait a little longer, as the boy is carefully examining something. The boy sits, lost in thought. In recent years, she lost both parents to mysterious illnesses. She is still very young but has already become a ruler. Her political talent is highly valued in the West, and this is what upsets the boy. The blonde boy announces that this is all, and suggests calling their rulers. The boy politely asks who he is, and immediately apologizes for not having introduced himself yet. The boy says that he was summoned from another world 6 months ago. He gladly introduces himself and gives his name, Kuramochi Yuto. Yuto says he is a hero who possesses immortality. The other boy looks at him with surprise. Carlgan is still kneeling and asking Yuto whether he is truly a brave warrior from another world, apologizing for his rudeness. Uto admits with a smile that although it seems like a military secret, their team of heroes has already defeated the Eastern Goblin Camp and the Lizardman's Lair. He remembers these events perfectly. So, the time when their dream will become reality is finally approaching. Carlgan, not hiding his surprise, says that it is hard for him to believe it. After all, defeating the lizards is a great achievement. In any case, Carlton is confident that they will be able to prepare a good report for the 3 countries. He thanks everyone for their attention, rises from his seat, and bows. The boy leaves the room, and the girl turns to Yuto, asking if he is all right. Yuto gets up from his seat and replies that everything is fine. He mentally notes that this noisy Western coalition at least needs a report about the heroes. Yuto gently lifts the girl's chin, calming her with a soft tone. He asks her not to worry because if she listens to his words, everything will definitely turn out well. The girl shyly places her hand on his palm and quietly agrees. She is ready to do everything he says. Suddenly, their conversation is interrupted by an unfamiliar man who enters the hall and addresses His Majesty Kuramoto Uto directly. An older man in a hat approaches them and says he has something important to tell. The girl does not hide her surprise. After all, standing before them is Prime Minister Drake himself. Uto calmly addresses the man, asking what happened. He said that he learned the news about a hero from another world who called himself the hero of the grocery store. This hero managed to defeat the legendary Earth Dragon in the Western Autonomous Region of Kadena. Yuto and the girl cannot believe their eyes. The girl confidently says that the guy from the store could not have possibly defeated the dragon. It seems unbelievable. The girl excitedly asks, "Didn't he himself say that he was a scoundrel who committed vile acts while pretending to be a hero? Then why was he treated so harshly?" She heard that he suffered great pain and still regrets his actions. She turns to Yuto and asks if he really killed the Earth Dragon, since only evil could dare to do such a thing. Yuto asks her not to worry. Everything is not so straightforward. Perhaps this story was made up to confuse them. The girl raises her voice and addresses the Prime Minister, insisting that a search party must be sent to Kaden immediately because it is vital. But before she could finish, Yuto reached out to her, quietly ordered her to sleep, and the girl slowly began to faint. After that, the girl falls asleep right on her throne. The boy sighs and silently notes that people who cannot control themselves actually pose a threat to the country. He thinks she is still too naive and does not understand that sometimes lies are unavoidable. After all, she is still very young. The Prime Minister addresses Yuta and asks if he put her to sleep again, saying that he is no better than her. However, Yuta does not answer her but instead shifts his gaze to the man and asks if that is really so. He says that all the local merchants in Caden have long been discussing the hero from the shop among themselves, so this can be trusted. Uto asks with a smile, how did he manage that if he only has a shop and doesn't know how to fight at all? He does not know what kind of amazing earth dragon it is, but he is sure. Next to him was the deputy head, also one of the chosen, and it was he who came to help. In his thoughts, he imagines Tamaki. Now she lives on the outskirts of the city. She can tell them the truth, and then she will be easily gotten rid of. It will be enough to say that some monster killed her, and report to the queen that everything happened exactly as they said. The man asks the Prime Minister to immediately send a group for capture, and the Prime Minister immediately agrees. Drake confirms his order, and the system recognizes his identity. The Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Grandale, nicknamed the Usurper, destroyed the Crusade, killed the parents with magic, made a young girl the heir to the throne, and seeks to seize all the kingdom's achievements for himself. Yuta smiles, because now he has a real reason to be considered a usurper and a valuable figure in this game. With his abilities, he managed to influence the queen, so now it will be easy to govern. Moreover, he possesses powerful magic for checking and assessing the situation. Drake asks Yuto about the hero assassin, but Yuto reassures him and says he will solve this problem himself, so there is no need to worry. Finding her will be much easier than that unlucky hero from the shop. Someone is standing, hiding behind a column. At this moment, the man apologizes. Yuto looks intently at the column and says that eavesdropping is rude. Then he calls her Shiori, knowing who is hiding. The girl comes out of hiding and stops in front of Yuto, holding a sword behind her back. The girl says she just arrived, so she didn't hear anything. The boy approaches her, and she asks with a slight smile if he is worried that she might have learned something unnecessary. The boy smiles and says he doesn't care, even jokes about it. He says the girl could be more compliant since they study together in the same class. He asks if he understood her correctly, but the girl responds with a dissatisfied apology and admits that she doesn't care either. The girl decisively stands before him and assures him that he is not plotting anything against their main goal. Yuto replies that as a leader, he always cares about everyone's safety above all else, and they also defeated the Dark Lord and happily returned home. The boy does not believe it, laughs, but he is explained. This is a true miracle. Everyone survived, everything ended well, and it is really incredible. The girl with a smile says that they are different from others. They can respond with a strike. In response, Yudaha also smiles and explains that, as a hero of this country, he has no right to disobey orders. He asks her not to act on her own anymore. The girl only sighs heavily, expressing dissatisfaction. She asks Yuto to what level the members of the chosen group have reached. Yuto replies that now everyone is already at the 3rd level and has become significantly stronger than before. She agrees with this. The girl spreads all her fingers before the boy and explains that now they are at the 5th level. She believes that now everyone should act independently. That will be better. The boy remains confused, and the girl calmly walks away, adding that the legendary Earth Dragon has already been defeated. Suddenly the girl smiled widely and said excitedly that meeting the legendary Earth Dragon is a real adventure. She also wants to join the search. She became curious about what level this dragon is now. It would be unpleasant if it suddenly overtook her. She walks forward with a smile, wondering if she will see him on the way. 2 soldiers of the night watch appear from around the corner. The girl guesses that he has already headed to Kadena. When the night watch stops to greet and thank her for her efforts, she tries to look serious. The queen opens her eyes and looks ahead. Yuto gently takes her by the chin and asks if she feels well. She asks if he managed to rest a little, then suddenly remembers the hero from the shop, whom she must find out about what happened to him. Yuto asks her to focus and listen carefully to his words. He began to tell the girl that the hero of the shop was actually a villain who served the Dark Lord and harmed the city. That is why the girl expelled him from the kingdom. She looked at him in surprise, and he asked if that was really so. Suddenly the girl smiles gently and agrees with his words. He understands that for a better result, he needs to strengthen his magic. This will take a little more time, so he decides to try again. With a barely noticeable irony in his voice, he addresses the queen and asks if he understood the situation correctly. There are several containers with appetizing ready-made food on the table. The main hero, together with 2 girls, smile, put their palms together, and greet each other with the words, "Bon appétit." The girl told him that bento with yakiniku is a real delight. He never even imagined that he could enjoy such a hot dish in an unfamiliar world. Once he could only afford a few portions together with jerry and tea, and it was a completely different feeling. Tamaki is eating and says that he is going out to the shop. To this, the boy tells the girl that it seems she is not so necessary to him after all. Since they left the city of Kadena, about 5 days have passed. Their path leads west, to places beyond the reach of the Grandale authorities. They ride on their horses. They find food, clothes, and a place to sleep right in the store, so they do not stay long in cities and leave no traces behind. The main character smiles and says that this is really very convenient. The main character reflects on the fact that his store has already reached the 5th level, and now he even has weapons. His idea of the perfect shop is completely different from before. Events unfold in ways he could never have imagined, but nothing can be done about it. The main thing is that he himself has become stronger. Besides this, they added many different things and goods. There became a lot in total. Tamaki takes something in her hands, and her friend carefully examines other items and turns to Kanata. She admitted that she did not know how to properly wear this lingerie, and asked him to explain. She shyly looked back, and suddenly Tamaki appeared behind, took her by the arm, and said she would show and tell everything herself. Moreover, for them, as well as for those who arrived from another world, there was even more to be interested in. Everyone looked at one box in surprise. For example, magazines, manga, books, and photo collections began to appear here, all brought from another world. In other words, everything that people read in the modern world is now available here as well. Ordering was allowed only 1 book per day. Moreover, new books appeared randomly. The boy realized with disappointment that collecting the entire collection could take years. Tamaki asks the boy with surprise if this is really everything from their world, because it seems to her that something is wrong here. The main character replies that the content really looks similar, but maybe they ended up in a parallel world. He concentrates and understands that there is no information about the disappearance of their class. Tina asks with surprise about unusual things: magical technologies, stores, cinemas, gaming consoles, household appliances, and amusement parks. She has never encountered such wonders before. If Tina is happy, it means everything is fine. Tina looks at one of the magazines in surprise and says that the book about women in unusual poses is also interesting. She notes that the advice is truly worth attention. Tamaki scolds the guy at that moment for ordering such a thing, since such a photo collection from another world was banned from the very first day. If they go further, they will find themselves already on the lands of the Union of 3 Western Kingdoms. The girls ask once again what this union is. Tina smiles and explains that these countries always live under the threat of an attack by the Dark Lord's army, so they promise to support each other in trouble. She adds that the local lands are more developed than Grandale in the east. However, to get there, you first need to cross a deep gorge known as the Dark Lord's Abyss. The main character looks very impressed upon hearing this. The main character asks if it is a real castle, because he is not ready for such things yet. Tamaki smiles and says that it is just a name, and he himself still needs to figure everything out. Tina confirms with a smile. The castle of the current Dark Lord really stands on Tamaki's land, a little further west from the union of the 3 countries, as he said. One of the boys immediately asks Tamaki not to boast. Tina seems extremely pleased. They say that the Dark Lord's Gorge served as a secret hiding place and grave for huge monsters that obeyed the Dark Lord, ruler of the world of the past. Even worse is that because of the Dark Lord's curse, all who have already ended up at the very bottom of the abyss lose the right to choose. Antamaku is very scared by this, as it could happen to him too. Tina explains to him that this also applies to monsters, but there are safe paths that traders always use, so there is no need to worry. The boy breathes a sigh of relief and says he feels calmer now. He thinks aloud. If they defeat the current Dark Lord, won't another arise in his place? Tamaki shrugs and says that this is quite possible, but nothing can be done about it. At these words, Tina suddenly becomes sad. After that, she tells her friends that she suspects something but is not sure of her guesses and has no evidence yet. She shares with them interesting information. In this world, there is a book called Forbidden Knowledge. However, it is very difficult to obtain. The main character and Tamaki were impressed upon hearing this news. Tina says that, according to people, the church burned almost all these forbidden books so that no one else could read them. When she was still little, she once came across a forbidden book in the underground library of Kadena. She was curious about what was written in it, so she took the book and began to read. What she read made a great impression on the girl. Tina, with anxiety on her face, explains that the Dark Lord in this world was created by the very heroes who were summoned from another dimension. The main hero and Tamaki are shocked by this news and cannot believe what they have heard. Tamaki asks with curiosity if this means they will now become Dark Lords. The boy explains. To defeat the Dark Lords, heroes from another world are always called, and these heroes then themselves become the new lords. Thus, this cycle continues again and again. The girl with closed eyes says that no one can confirm these rumors now. However, there used to be stories. Among the heroes summoned from other worlds, those who possess unusual abilities eventually turn into Dark Lords. In ancient times, people understood this well, and if someone with similar abilities was found during the selection of a hero, they tried to get rid of him quickly. Tamaki smiles and asks if everyone is okay, if no one has offended them. The main character wonders what kind of hero could become a Dark Lord. Immediately in his thoughts appears only Yutokura Moti. The hero paints his image and understands. This person will by no means become the last ruler. After this, the main character turns to Tina with the question, what exactly was said about these abilities, and what should they ultimately be like? The girl says that, unfortunately, this part was spoiled. It seems it talked about unique abilities that distinguish her from other heroes. It looks like she is very worried about it. The main character notes that his store is also not ordinary. No matter how you look at it, no Dark Lord can hide here. He says that protective measures can of course be dangerous, but that is not what is needed right now. And then Tamaki suddenly remembers another important thing. Hot lunches and tasty sweets that support the people on the outer wall. The main character smiled and jokingly told the girl that she was too cheerful and clumsy to be a real killer. The girl looked at him in surprise and asked if he could at least once simply praise her. Tina gladly hugs the girl and admits that Tamaki is a kind and pleasant hero whom she truly values. The main hero watches this with some displeasure. The boy asks Tina to give him a chance to ask one more question, and she willingly agrees. The main character addresses the girl and asks if he is really an alien from another world. He also adds that after defeating the Lord of Evil, he must return home, and the girl listens carefully to his words and contemplates the question Kanad posed. The girl anxiously says that the legend tells nothing about further events. According to one version, someone remains in this world until death, living an ordinary life with others. This proves that people with unique abilities, who inherited the blood of heroes from distant ancestors, are born extremely rarely. This child is like a symbol of a new beginning. The main heroine understands what was said and recalls that girl. A thought appears in her mind. If this is really so, then maybe everything Crusade told was the sincere truth. Kanata tells Tina that Queen Grandel spoke of very powerful magic that can send heroes back to their world. Tina asks again who this queen is, admits she has never heard of her, and apologizes for her ignorance. However, the Kingdom of Grandale is known for conducting hero summoning rituals since ancient times. It is possible that they obtained some special magic from another world, which no one else even suspects. The main heroine reminds that one way or another, their goal now is to defeat the Dark Lord. Tamaki honestly admits, their whole story comes down to this, and she is really scared. At this moment, Tina immediately addresses Kanata and Tamaki. The girl with an anxious face looks at her two friends and asks, if they manage to defeat the Dark Lord, will they both be able to return home to their world? Her words cause surprise among her companions. The main character suddenly remembered how much he wanted to return home. However, at that very moment, the girl unexpectedly covered her mouth with both hands. Suddenly she becomes embarrassed, lowers her hands, hugs herself, and quietly apologizes to the two sitting nearby. She is interested in whether they are moving forward for this very reason. First of all, they need to reach the alliance of 3 Western countries. The main hero, together with Tamaki, carefully watches the girl. When it is time to set off, Tamaki offers Tina his help, while the hero remains thoughtful for a moment, sinking into his own thoughts. The main hero wonders what the other heroes felt and thought during the most important moments of their lives. When it is his turn to make a decision, he raises his eyes to the sky. Finally, they moved on. After several weeks of travel, their path led to the Dark Lord's Gorge, where an old signpost awaited them. The entire squad cannot hide their surprise. The bottom of the gorge is not visible at all, and this causes them anxiety. Thoughts of demons who might be hiding there in the darkness come to mind. These are the same demons who once served the Dark Lord, and have managed to survive to this day. They are as huge as the Cadices, or maybe even more terrifying. The main hero thinks that the Dark Lord, under whose rule he had previously been, was probably a good person, maybe even cooler than Cadiz. He asks Tina how he could have been defeated. The girl admits that no old book mentions this, so she is also curious to find out how it all happened. The main hero recalls that he had already heard about this in lessons during training for heroes. He looks around but sees neither Tamaki nor her horse. He asks himself in surprise where she has gone, as her sudden disappearance strikes him to the core. Tina tells him that, as far as she knows, Tamaki was supposed to go on a reconnaissance mission. She remembers asking her friend to be cautious, but the boy did not pay attention to this then, and now he asks Tina again if it is really so. The main heroine thought with annoyance that she had long been used to acting alone. At that moment, he recalled how she often left him and their friend when she found a cat or if there was tasty food nearby. The boy turned to Tina and said that he would go in search of her and that she should rest a little now. Tina agreed and asked them to be careful. He nodded to the girl who stayed next to the horse. The main hero continues walking along the gorge, carefully examining the surrounding area. Suddenly, his gaze stops on something that catches his attention. He notices a familiar silhouette and realizes that it is her. It's good that the girl did not go far. But suddenly something strikes him deeply. The main character is confused because he sees a girl who, through tears, screams and hits an invisible wall with her hands. Nearby, someone mocks and tells him that he is still alive, and the boy just silently stands and watches all this. Next to the girl who was imprisoned in a cone-shaped crystal stood two more. One of them, the one on the right, smiled and addressed Canada, recalling that they had not seen each other for a long time, and called him the guy from the store. The main character freezes in place when he sees Kanamori and Natori Mitsuki in front of him. The girl with glasses is a mage shield user, and she seems very serious. Kanata believes that this girl in glasses is calm and unremarkable. But in reality, she is a true stalker who is madly obsessed with Kuramochi and constantly follows him, hiding around corners. Both look sternly at the boy, and he understands that these are just two modest and obedient assistants in glasses, simple servants among whom is Mitsuki. Kanamori explains that thanks to the large radius of the protective field, it is easy to detect the required person or group of people, and if a protective barrier is applied, they can not only be isolated but also weaken their abilities. He asks the main character if he is really surprised by this. Mitsuki begins to get angrier at the boy, and Tamaki sits silently, not understanding what is happening between them. The main character notices that Mitsuki has become furious, and realizes that it is precisely because of her abilities. Kanamori says that the vice president has already been detained. Upon hearing this, Tamaka becomes very worried. Kanamori confidently declares that he is the most dangerous criminal in Grandale. He says that Kanata will definitely be punished for everything he has done. Kanamori points a finger at the main hero with a disgusting smile. The main character shouts indignantly that he is being accused without grounds. In response, the boy mockingly remarks, "Oh, how scared I am. All criminals justify themselves like that." Then the main character asks what kind of justice it can be if he takes people hostage. The boy gets even angrier at such words. Kanamori asks the main hero not to give up and not to lose heart, even if the water presses on his shoulders. She says that if he can endure and win, then maybe the girl who is held captive will be released. The main hero reflects on her words. Kanamori suddenly attacks the main hero and uses her dark water element. A powerful wave of black water rushes towards him, threatening to wash away everything in its path. Tina sat, immersed in memories of her friends and all that they had experienced together. A worry arose in her thoughts. If they managed to defeat the Dark Lord, she might have to part with both comrades. Nearby, Tina's horse grazed calmly, unaware of her doubts. Suddenly, the girl hears a noise resembling the babbling of water, which worries her even more about Kanata and Tamaki. Suddenly, unexpected loud sounds rang out, stunning the enemies of the main heroes. They could not believe their eyes when the building of our hero's shop appeared right before them. Everyone froze in place, overwhelmed with complete astonishment. Water bursts into the shop and spreads in all directions, not touching the main hero at all. The boy in glasses sternly asks Kanata if he was not using his shop as a shield. The main hero smiles, apologizes to Kanamori, and says that now he is completely different from before. He stands before them, raising his hand. Amori stops, irritably clenching his fists in anger, while Tamaki sincerely rejoices in his success. The boy in glasses grumbles discontentedly that this situation annoys him, and the main hero is confused and does not understand what exactly happened. Kanamori angrily raises his hand and says he cannot look at that arrogant face. That boy does not even realize what he wants to do. But suddenly Kanamori froze, said not a word, and did not move, while the main hero stood up and defensively held his hands out in front of him. After that, everyone falls silent for a short time. The main hero watches something intently. Suddenly, Kanamori starts coughing violently and bends over in pain. He falls to his knees right on the ground. The girl standing nearby looks at him with surprise, and Kianada asks worriedly what happened to him. The man in glasses stomps his feet irritably and asks the main hero what he did to him, saying that it became hard for him to breathe. The main hero is genuinely surprised because he did nothing. Someone turns to Kanata and Tamaki, but the angry man approaches them again. Suddenly, Tina appears before the main hero. The girl looks at him with great admiration, which greatly surprises the boy. At the same moment, Kanamori, smiling disgustedly, watches Tina closely. He asks them if she is also involved in this. At this time, the main character notices how water slowly gathers near the boy's hand. Kanada shouts at the girl to run away, but Kanamori only laughs, replying that it is already too late. He prepares to use the dark water stream for the second time. The main character suddenly jumps up and rushes to help the girl. She watches in surprise as the boy reaches out his hand to her and calls her by name. The girl suddenly breaks away from the cliff, but the main character reacts instantly. He jumps forward and manages to catch her right in the air. Then both suddenly broke away and began to fly down into the abyss. The boy at first looked down intently and calmly, but in a moment his face changed. Suddenly he screamed. Then the main character immerses himself in memories of the past, recalling how he lived in a big city. He remembers how the girl waved to him cheerfully and said, "Good morning." Next to her stood a boy who also greeted him. The main character took off his headphones and responded to them in return. Tamaki looks at the sign with joy and with a smile suggests going there after class. The main character enters the classroom, where classmates greet each other joyfully with good morning. Someone was talking with friends, someone was absorbed in their phone, some were reading a book, and some were just lying down and dozing. A tall blonde man enters the classroom. He addresses everyone. As soon as the teacher appears, the morning meeting will begin immediately, so he asks everyone to take their seats. He is holding something in his hands. Suddenly, the employees in the office feel some inexplicable tension around. Everyone starts anxiously looking at each other, wondering what happened. And suddenly one of them unexpectedly shouts. The main character of the poem groans through sleep, slowly opens his eyes with difficulty, and lies looking at the ceiling. It seems to him as if he has just dreamed a pleasant, warm dream from childhood. The main character notices a hole in the ceiling and wonders if the store saved his life. He also notices that Tina, having lost consciousness, is lying right on the edge of this hole. The boy asks the girl with surprise if she is okay. She slowly comes to her senses and accidentally hits him in the face. The boy complains of pain, holding his cheek, and the girl looks at him confused, not understanding what happened. She turns to Kanata and apologizes, admitting that it all happened because of her. But the boy just winks and says that actually he dragged her into this adventure. The main character suddenly approaches and hugs the girl tightly. She is so surprised that she cannot say a word. He quietly says that he is very glad to see her unharmed and confesses how happy he is that she is okay. Suddenly a calm smile appears on the girl's face. She hugs the boy in return and begins to cry with joy. Then both get up on their feet. The girl asks Kanata where they are now. The main character looks out the window and notices that at the very bottom of the Demon Valley, shadows of some monsters can be seen. They walk together along a narrow path among the rocks. Suddenly they notice a monster nearby. The main character immediately calls his store, and Tina nervously looks back. After that, they go down the stairs together. The main character walks ahead and says that this is his underground shelter. He noticed that something has changed here, but inside everything remains almost the same, like a comfortable office. The main character stands by the computer and thinks that something huge seems to have appeared outside. He decides that it will be much safer for him in this room than in the office on the top floor. The girl nods in agreement, and the main character decides to first look around. He selects a drone on the control panel, launches it, and carefully releases it outside the building to see everything better. Suddenly, they unexpectedly notice a gigantic dragon in front of them. The girl asks if it might be Katus. Kanata replies that no. This creature is much bigger than the one he fought in the city of Kadena, and it has a completely different color. Maybe it is a completely different species of dragons. There turned out to be several such dragons, not just one. The boy, focused and serious, realizes that they are already at the very bottom of the demonic valley. Suddenly, the girl notices something strange, shows it to the boy on the screen and says, "Some round creature is approaching them." The main character is terrified. The creature just drove right through the store, and nothing of it remains. He is struck that their store is completely smashed, and the girl standing nearby is just as frightened. The girl looks around and asks why then the shelter remained intact. The main character also pays attention to this. He says that when the store collapsed, no vibrations or extraneous sounds could be heard from outside. Perhaps this place exists separately from the store itself. Currently, they are in a room completely enveloped in darkness on all sides. The main character is amazed by this unusual mechanism, but is glad that it exists. Something about it suggests that this convenient device seems to be made especially to help with future difficulties. She wants to check how high they can fly. The drone slowly rises into the sky, first flying 200 meters, then covering 300, then 400. After overcoming a kilometer, it rises to 2,000 and finally reaches an altitude of 4,000 meters. The main character notices that this place is very deep. Suddenly the girl sees a light, but unexpectedly something explodes and the drone footage disappears. This surprises both of them greatly. The main heroine wonders, is this really the same demonic seal that TK mentioned? She recalls his words that once caught under the power of the demonic curse and ending up at the very bottom, it is impossible to get out of there on your own. The girl admits that she is seeing this for the first time, but feels that an extraordinarily strong magical barrier stands ahead. The main character asks fearfully if this means they will never manage to escape from this valley. At that moment, a message appears on the screen, no signal. The main character, together with the girl, rushes forward in fear. The boy calls out to Tina to speed up her pace, and the girl is so frightened that she almost stumbles from excitement. Canada loudly asks Tina to use a lightning dash, and she immediately obeys. Then he calls the store, which instantly appears before them. The friends quickly run inside because a huge dragon is rapidly approaching from behind. The girl calls the boy and asks him to hurry, and the main character stretches out his hand forward in a certain direction. At that very moment, as soon as this happened, the store walls fly apart into small fragments. Dragons break through them. Claude Pas swiftly breaks through everything in his path. The main character stumbles on the stairs and falls down. He is still smiling because he is happy that soon they will live in a better home. Tina shouts his name in fear, and the boy, lying on the floor, thinks that all this resembles a strange, exciting game. The dragon looks at the door he holds in his paw with surprise. He cannot understand why no one even said that they received new supplies. At that moment, the main character hears a quiet beep. The system informs him that the store level has been raised, which greatly surprises the boy. Then the message appears several times in a row again, and each time it surprises the main character. He was sure that this could only happen once, but here they appear one after another. Tina looks at the boy with surprise. The main character admits that his level suddenly increased by as much as 4. Tina reacts with delight, saying that this is incredibly good news. She asks the boy with interest if something interesting happened, and the main character raises his hand as if wanting to draw attention to himself and find out what happened. A table with many new products and various household items appears on the screen. The main character was impressed because the selection became almost like in a regular store. Tina also could not hide her surprise. The main character, of course, was very happy about this. However, now he needs not something to eat at all. Of all the property, he only has a shower cabin left. He goes there and begins to imagine what the bunker could be like. The boy asks the girl if he really has a choice in such a hopeless situation. He also wonders where the strong weapon is, since even their store is about to be completely destroyed. Canada hid under the table and covered his face with his hands. He awkwardly apologized to Tina, admitting that he might not be able to save her. He didn't have enough strength. The girl calms him down and asks him not to panic. The girl takes the boy's hand, smiles, and says that it definitely wouldn't hurt them to take a shower together. She says this confidently and happily, with calm in her eyes. The boy looks at her in surprise and quietly utters her name. She smiles and offers the hero a snack, having brought a whole bag of tea and sandwiches. The main character asks if there is something tasty. The girl explains that she anticipated such a situation and therefore brought a lot of food. Tina, with a smile, suggested to the guy to think together about how to get out of this situation and advised not to lose calm. She said that after a snack the mind becomes clearer, new ideas appear, and even in a difficult situation it is much easier together. So they will lift their spirits and continue the journey. Her words made the main character feel a little embarrassed. The young man agrees with the girl. It's still too early to give up. He sincerely thanks her for always being there and supporting him. Tina smiles in response and says she is glad to see him in a good mood again. The girl smiled happily and admitted that they had not been alone together for a long time, and the boy asked in surprise to make sure he heard her words correctly. Since then, they settled in the underground shelter and began to live there in seclusion. The girl was taking a shower. They had attacked and defended many times already, but his level had increased by only 1 step, and this upset him greatly.